Because of the change in Zhao Feng's left eye, the effect of using the marrow cleansing pill was much better than expected. When someone ate a marrow cleansing pill, they would usually give off a layer of the sticky fluid, but Zhao Feng gave off 3. Zhao Feng was sure that the mysterious left eye had the same effect as the marrow cleansing pill and it could improve his attributes. But it happened over time. At this moment, not only did the left eye's effect merge with the marrow cleansing pill, it had also improved his body further than what the pill alone would have made. The first layer excreted was the smelliest and the other 2 became fainter. When the second layer was excreted, Zhao Feng felt that his silver wall technique had reached the limit of the 8th level and was 1 step away from the 9th. Using this chance, Zhao Feng fully circulated silver wall technique and absorbed as much as he could. His silver wall technique finally broke through to the 9th level when the 3rd layer was excreted. Zhao Feng was overjoyed. He had reached the 9th level much faster than expected. This was a clan, the resources it had far surpassed the mortal world. The pill a Vice Head casually gave had made him change entirely. The higher one reached in body strengthening, the harder it was to progress. After reaching the 8th level, silver wall technique was much harder to improve compared to other mortal skills. This was also why not many outer disciples focused on body strengthening. The only one of the outer disciples whose body can be compared to mine is Ho Yuan. A smile appeared on Zhao Feng's lips as his confidence rose. At the same time, he was very expectant of the last 2 levels of the silver wall technique. There was a total of 11 levels in silver wall technique, and when one reached the 10th level, it meant that the body alone had reached the ascended realm. The 11th level, body of perfection, hard to be destroyed. Zhao Feng was at the 9th rank and he could beat those at the 9th rank of the consolidated realm with just his body alone. From blood to bones to veins to organs, Zhao Feng's body was far stronger than those of the same rank. Zhao Feng closed his eyes and inside the dimension of his left eye, the azure light had extended to 8'8". The marrow cleansing pillow had made him enter the late stages of the 8th rank of the consolidated realm. Who? Zhao Feng slowly let out a long breath and stood up after 2 hours of sitting. The sun outside had already risen. Zhao Feng got up and walked towards the Grasswood Division. On the way, he went to the workplace of Nan Gongfan and Yang Qingshan. Yang Qingshan was pouring water, a job much easier than before. Brother Zhao, after you established your strength, these outer disciples became much more contained. Yang Qingshan smiled. Although Yang Qingshan still did a lot of work, no one bullied him. Zhao Feng nodded his head and headed where Nan Gongfan was. He's here. Chen Feng took a hiccup as he saw Zhao Feng appear. Ever since Zhao Feng had beaten Ji Fengyun and became a substitute inner disciple, Chen Feng became full of fear. Zhao Feng purposely walked over and talked a bit with Nan Gongfan. Thanks to Brother Zhao, although my work is hard, no one dares to cause any trouble. Nan Gongfan was full of gratitude and patted Zhao Feng's shoulder. After seeing his 2 brothers, Zhao Feng let out a breath. Soon, he arrived at the Grasswood Division and saw Vice Head Guan. How did it feel yesterday? Old Man Guan laughed. Zhao Feng paused, then immediately responded, thanks to Vice Head Guan, the effect of the marrow cleansing pill was great. He was full of gratitude. The price of the marrow cleansing pill was too high, and for those below the ascended realm, this pill only appeared in their dreams. What marrow cleansing pill? I'm asking you how it felt to challenge a substitute inner disciple. Old Man Guan gave him the white eye. Being one of the best pill masters in the clan, a marrow cleansing pill wasn't much for him. Zhao Feng immediately understood that Vice Head Guan didn't know he had one. The strength of substitute inner disciples was much stronger than expected. If I was slightly careless, I would have lost. Zhao Feng sighed. And, that's right. Old Man Guan kept on nodding his head, but his expression suddenly changed after hearing the last part. Wait, are you saying that you didn't lose? Princess Yun Mengxiang and the other outer disciples can tell you that this is true. Zhao Feng gave a faint smile. Although Yun Mengxiang knew the truth, she didn't dare to pass this news on to Old Man Guan because the latter wanted Zhao Feng to lose, so that he would focus on pill making. As expected, Old Man Guan didn't believe this and called Yun Mengxiang over. Under the vice head's deadly eyes, Yun Mengxiang could only stutter weakly. Brother Zhao Feng did indeed beat Ji Feng. It was a close battle. Close battle? Old man Guan's heart felt a little bit better, but he was still surprised. He knew how much strength each substitute inner disciple possessed. Every one of them was at the half-step ascended realm. What rank was the substitute inner disciple placed? Vice Head Guan asked casually. 13th. Yun Mengxiang said carefully. She was scared of being washed away in Old Man Guan's anger. What? 13th? Old Man Guan's jaw had almost dropped as he looked at Zhao Feng like he was looking at a monster. If Zhao Feng had beat the 20th ranked outer disciple, it could be said that he was lucky, but Zhao Feng's opponent was 13th. Knowing the truth, Old Man Guan was overjoyed yet sad at the same time. Old Man Guan decided to not mention this again. He then gave Zhao Feng a few tasks. This time he gave Zhao Feng a few books for pill making. These books were all foundation pill making knowledge, but they were much deeper than the beginner's guide for pill making. Each and every one of them were as hard to comprehend as the Pill Flame Heart Manual. Apart from this, Old Man Guan also gave Zhao Feng permission to let the latter watch him refine pills. Some pill masters all had their own tricks and apart from their disciples or personal helpers. No one was to watch, especially so since Old Man Guan was one of the best pill masters in the clan. Doing this meant that Zhao Feng had the same treatment as Old Man Guan's disciples. To show her respect and goodwill, Yun Yao also allowed Zhao Feng to see how she refined pills. That's good. I've got a few important pills that I've got to refine right now. Vice Head Guan nodded his head, and this meant he owed Yun Yao a favor. Like this, Zhao Feng walked onto the path of pill making. For the next few days, all he did was watch the process. The pills that Yun Yao created were simpler because her skills weren't as profound as Old Man Guan's, and she had to teach Princess Yun Mengxiang at the same time. This also benefited Zhao Feng. He got to hang out with Yun Mengxiang every day and learn a few tips and tricks to pill making. Yun Yao would also explain what she was doing sometimes, and while they learnt, Yun Mengxiang would ask a lot of questions while Zhao Feng stayed quiet for most of the time. Yun Yao was also secretly keeping an eye on Zhao Feng, and she realized that the latter was extremely focused when she opened the fire and put in the plants. Although Zhao Feng didn't ask a lot of questions, the questions he asked were all important. During daytime, Zhao Feng would watch Yun Yao refine pills, and he would occasionally watch Old Man Guan as well. The latter's technique was a lot more complicated, and it was a blur in the spectator's eyes. Zhao Feng liked to watch Yun Yao refine pills more because her style was simple and easy to learn. That was for him, of course. Zhao Feng would learn pill making during daytime and cultivate during night. After hanging out in the pill refining room for so long, he would even get 1 or 2 low-class spiritual pills if he was lucky, and this was extremely useful for those at the consolidated realm. 4 to 5 days later, Yun Yao started to test how Yun Mengxiang and Zhao Feng were progressing. Yun Mengxiang could answer the majority of the questions, while Zhao Feng could answer them all. Yun Yao sighed within her heart, and she had to admit that Zhao Feng had higher talent than Yun Mengxiang in terms of pill making. While Yun Mengxiang had started learning pill making a bit longer than Zhao Feng, she wasn't as proficient as Zhao Feng. Of course, this didn't mean that her talent was bad. Truthfully, Yun Mengxiang's talent in pill making was the higher than most pill masters Yun Yao had seen, and she was extremely hard-working. Auntie, Zhao Feng's can memorize everything he's seen, so how can I better than him in terms of knowledge? He might not be better than me in terms of pill refining. Yun Mengxiang was still unwilling to admit defeat. Hearing this, even Yun Yao felt this was logical. Zhao Feng might be able to memorize everything he saw, so Yun Mengxiang wouldn't be able to beat him in terms of knowledge. Even Yun Yao herself might not. The second day, inside the pill refining room. Today, I want the two of you to create a batch of pills. I won't give any directions or help at all. Yun Yao said to the two. The pill you're going to refine is the blood pill. It might be rare in the mortal world, but here it's just a super low-tier pill, so you can go ahead and try. Hearing that they would be actually refining pills, Zhao Feng was slightly excited. The blood pills was the exact ones the Zhao sect had given out as a reward back then. This pill could increase one's cultivation, but it had almost no use for those at the 7th rank of the consolidated realm or higher. In the clan, these pills were trash. Their only uses were to let disciples get familiar at making these pills. Zhao Feng couldn't help but sigh that the starting points of the two worlds were just too different. Inside the pill refining room, Yun Yao got out all the resources out and laid them down to see how well these pills learners were. Sister Yun can go first. Zhao Feng waved his hands. Yun Mengxiang started to organize the materials and started the fire. The key point in refining pills was controlling the flame. The strongness of the flame directly affected the refining of the pill. During the process of controlling the flame suddenly extinguished and the pill furnace slightly trembled. Ah! Yun Mengxiang shouted, and she was about to try and save it, but an azure smoke appeared and gave off a weird smell. Smells like someone farted. Zhao Feng couldn't help but laugh. Yun Mengxiang's face turned red from embarrassment. What are you laughing at? If you have the skills, you make a batch. Mengxiang, don't be disrespectful. It's your fault you failed, Yun Yao said sternly. As soon as the words left her mouth, Yun Mengxiang realized that her princess problem appeared again. Her princess identity wasn't very effective in the clan, and her father and auntie had repeatedly warned her to not offend strong cultivators with her attitude. Zhao Feng was a disciple that both Old Man Guan and Old Man Zhang were fighting for, and it wasn't a good idea to offend someone with such status and potential. But maybe because she had gotten familiar with Zhao Feng the past few days and the latter was calm, she forgot about this. It's fine, this is the attitude. Zhao Feng laughed and he didn't put it to heart. The main point here was pill refining. Ever since he had entered the Grasswood division, Zhao Feng had started to find interest in pill making, and this interest was founded by the lure of spiritual pills. Zhao Feng thought that if he became a pill master, he could refine all the pills he needed. This could support his cultivation and save money. Pill makers was a hot job in the clan. Zhao Feng, did you see the mistake that Yun Mengxiang made before? Yun Yao decided to test Zhao Feng. Zhao Feng wasn't scared of giving Yun Mengxiang too big of a blow. Firstly, she was too cautious like a rat, so her flame was too small and the temperature not high enough. Secondly, there were a few mistakes she made when controlling the flame, and because the fire was small, it instantly extinguished. Of course, those was the most obvious mistakes. I'm too lazy to say the other smaller mistakes. Hearing this, Yun Mengxiang was so angry that she was trembling, but she couldn't explode. If it was a normal person, she would have already sent them flying with a kick. Being a princess, when did anyone say anything like this to her before? And the key points were said. Yun Yao said praisingly as she nodded her head. Yun Mengxiang could only suppress her anger. A light flashed in her eyes as she smiled and said, Mengxiang was too dumb-handed. May Pill Master Zhao teach me? I'm not a pill master. Zhao Feng's heart jumped. It was obvious that Yun Mengxiang praised him so that the fall would be greater. Any pill learner was unlikely to succeed on their first try. After Yun Mengxiang had failed, it was Zhao Feng's turn. Inside his mind, the process of Yun Yao creating the blood pill appeared. For the past few days, Zhao Feng had a few tries of opening the flame, controlling the flame and adding the materials, but it was all testing. It was much harder to put all the steps together and complete it in one breath. Controlling the flame was the most important, and the slightest mistake could shake the outcome. The first step, putting the materials in. Zhao Feng's left eye slowly opened and he took one portion of each material needed. Amongst the same materials, there were good and bad ones which could affect the humidity and other small things like that. Zhao Feng chose the most suitable composition, and Yun Yao, who had noticed these small acts, nodded her head in praise. In just the first step of choosing their materials, Zhao Feng had beat Yun Mengxiang. After the materials were chosen, Zhao Feng put them into the furnace in order and put them in specific places. The heat of the furnace wasn't even everywhere. There was places of high and low heat respectively. The first step, adding the materials, was completed. Zhao Feng didn't miss out any steps, and if his steps were clumsy or hesitant, the process of Yun Yao refining the pills would appear in his mind. The second step, starting the flame. Starting the flame seemed simple, but there was a process to it. This size and temperature of the flame couldn't have any mistake, but a low-class pill such as the blood pill didn't need an extremely specific flame. Zhao Feng lit up a piece of coal and a small red flame appeared. Next was the most important step, controlling the flame. Zhao Feng concentrated. He opened his left eye and used his inner strength to directly affect the flame. One needed to reach the 7th rank of the consolidated realm to become a pill learner because only then was their inner strength able to leave their body and affect the flame. Even then, this was the worst way, but if one hadn't even reached the 7th rank, how were they supposed to do this? Zhao Feng's control of the flame was extremely strong and the small flame was spread out evenly on the furnace. As time passed, a faint medicinal smell wafted from the furnace. Zhao Feng would occasionally add a few more coals to maintain the flame, and although he wasn't familiar with controlling the flame, it was natural for him. This was because his left eye was precise and he could control his inner strength well. For a full 2 hours, Zhao Feng still casually controlled the flame. This made Yun Mingxiang's expression change slightly. She hadn't expected Zhao Feng's inner strength to be so dense and thick. If it was her inner strength would have been depleted. Using every bit of power to its precise use. He's reached mastery at controlling the flame. Yao Yun sighed. His skill in controlling the flame could already be compared with some older pill masters. At this time, Yun Yao couldn't help but admire old man Guan's eyes. Zhao Feng was indeed a prodigy in pill making. Pill making asked for precision, especially in flame control. 2 hours later, Zhao Feng's inner strength had slowly faded away, and the flame extinguished. The remaining heat from the furnace still made the furnace give off a medicinal smell. Zhao Feng sniffed it and he found that it did indeed belong to the blood pill. Its smell right now was tens of times stronger than before because it had just been made. After waiting for a while, Zhao Feng tapped his finger in the air. Pa! From the furnace jumped up tens of blood-red pills. This was the last step, opening the furnace. One had to time when to open the furnace. If it was too early, the pill may not have solidified yet, and if it was too late, the pill size might be too large and crack. Under that situation, the pill might explode and destroy the entire pill refining room. Shua! Zhao Feng waved his robe and grabbed the tens of red blood pills with his hand. Let me see the success rate, Yun Yao said while smiling. Success rate? Zhao Feng paused. But he soon remembered what this meant. When a batch of pill was made, there was always a success rate. For example, of 10 pills, there might be only 5 pills successfully created. The others would either be trash pills or ungraded pills. Zhao Feng handed over all the pills to Yun Yao. It can't all be ungraded and useless pills, right? Yun Mingxiang laughed. At this time, she saw that her auntie's face was solemn and full of shock. 13 blood pills, 1 perfect pill, for excellent, 6 normal and 2 others which are slightly below the standard of normal but still in the normal category. Yun Yao couldn't help but take in a cold breath. If the requirements aren't strict, this is a 100% success rate. 100%. Yun Mingxiang's face had turned pale fright like she had been frightened. Then, she and Yun Yao looked at Zhao Feng with complex emotions. This is your first time refining pills? The shock and questioning hadn't disappeared from Yun Yao's face. That's right. Zhao Feng's heart was slightly weak. He hadn't expected his precision and control to be so good. After his confirmation, Yun Yao and Yun Mingxiang seemed like they had been beaten and their souls lost. These 13 pills were created by you, so you have them. Yun Yao returned the pills that Zhao Feng refined back to him. Then, there wasn't a then. Zhao Feng was kicked out for no reason, leaving behind only Yun Yao and Yun Mingxiang. Auntie, why aren't you teaching him anymore? How can I teach a prodigy such as him? It's a miracle. How can someone have a 100% success rate when refining their first batch of pills? Yun Yao sighed in despair. How is this possible? Yun Mingxiang was speechless. Keep this a secret for now. All you've got to do now is not to offend him and maintain a good relationship with him, Yun Yao said. After leaving the refining room, Zhao Feng went into deep thought. That's how it is. No matter how excellent the pill maker is, it's hard for them to have a 100% success rate even if they are a pill master, unless they create pills far below their usual standard. Zhao Feng finally realized that his 100% success rate was shocking. Because it was his first time refining pills, he didn't have a standard and he still made a 100% success rate. For the next few days, Zhao Feng was much more relaxed and free. The tasks that Old Man Guan had given him were completed. During daytime, he would occasionally read a few books, and at night, he would cultivate. His main focus was still silver wall technique. But after reaching the 9th level, his progress slowed down. It would be at least a few years before his silver wall technique reached the 10th level, according to his analysis. Zhao Feng could only wait and hope that Vice Head Guan would give him a few more spiritual pills. If he didn't, he could create them himself later on. Time passed quickly, and Zhao Feng had stayed in the clan for half a month now. Of the newly entered disciples, Xiao Sun, Yun Mengxian, and Lu Yuer had the most major improvements. Xiao Sun had apparently reached the half-step, ascended realm, while Yun Mengxiang and Lu Yuer had reached the peak 9th rank of the consolidated realm. Such speed was a miracle in the mortal world. But in the clan it was fast but not shocking. The 9 ranks of the consolidate realm was only a beginning after all. Zhao Feng knew that Yun Mengxiang had a pill master ante, so she had eaten at least 5 or more of the marrow cleansing pill, but Lu Yuer couldn't be found amongst the outer disciples. Some said that she had been taken in by another elder and became the 3rd person to become a disciple of an elder after Bei Moi and Sun Yuanhao. The 2 Nangong Fan and Yang Qingshan had reached the half-step 9th rank and 9th rank respectively. Compared with the others, Zhao Feng's cultivation speed wasn't fast. Although he focused mainly on silver wall technique, his cultivation had still broken through to the 9th rank. In half a month's time, Zhao Feng had reached the 9th rank of the consolidated realm, and that was him not focusing on cultivation. If he did so, he would be at least at the peak 9th rank. His main focus was reaching the 10th level of the silver wall technique and not cultivation, but in the past few days, he would occasionally receive some pills from the Grasswood division, so it was hard not to progress. Competition is fierce in the clan. Even the lowest and weakest outer disciple are geniuses back in their homeland. Zhao Feng could feel the intense competition. If the outer disciples were already like this, then it would be hard to imagine what kind of situation it was with inner disciples. Up to now, only Bei Moi, Sun Yuanhao, and Lu Yuer had become inner disciples, and Zhao Feng knew the earlier one became an inner disciple, the bigger advantage they had. They would get better skills as well as more resources. But even though Zhao Feng knew this, he didn't give up on body strengthening. The body was the foundation of everything, and one must have a solid foundation at the consolidated realm, so that the future path will be easier. To reach the ascended realm with his body, that was his goal. Zhao Feng calculated the time, and he realized that it was nearing the end of the 10 days. According to the deal made earlier, he had to stay at Old Man Guan's and Old Man Zhang's place for 10 days each. In the 10 days at the Grasswood division, Zhao Feng had already entered the path of pill-making, and whenever Old Man Guan mentioned him, his mouth couldn't close. On the last day, Vice Head Guan met up with Zhao Feng alone. "Your talent in pill-making is frightening. It could already be seen in the future that you'll be a miracle in the world of refining pills." Old Man Guan looked complexly at Zhao Feng, as if he was expectant of the latter. Before Zhao Feng left Old Man Guan have him a holy pill Bible. This book contains many top-class pill masters, including mine, tricks and steps to refining pills. It also has a vast amount of knowledge in it. After Vice Head Guan handed the holy pill Bible over to Zhao Feng, he let out a long breath as if an important matter had been completed. Holding the Bible in his hand, Zhao Feng felt its heaviness. Apart from the Holy Pill Bible, Old Man Guan also gave Zhao Feng 10 substandard primal crystal stones and an old furnace. The furnace had been used by Old Man Guan a long time ago, and it was a token of memory. It had now been passed on to Zhao Feng. After leaving the Grasswood division, Zhao Feng had a weird feeling. Why didn't Old Man Guan mention anything about taking me as a disciple? Could it be that he wants to settle it first with Old Man Zhang? Zhao Feng was extremely curious, but he soon put it in the back of his mind. Returning back to his courtyard, Zhao Feng organized the resources he had at hand. He was extremely rich right now. Apart from the furnace that Old Man Guan had just given him, he also had a few pills and 10 substandard primal crystal stones. Primal crystal stones were the common currency. The silver from the mortal world was worthless. Zhao Feng had heard rumors saying that 1 million pieces of silver could be exchanged for 1 substandard primal crystal stone. To see the use of primal crystal stones, Zhao Feng decided to go to the exchange hall of the Broken Moon clan. The exchange hall was limited to disciples in the clan only, and it was not open to public. The moment Zhao Feng stepped into exchange hall, he felt uneasy. The figures entering and exiting the hall were all at the ascended realm. There were even deacons and vice heads present. The aura released from anyone of the ascended realm made Zhao Feng feel unable to breathe. It was this scene that made Zhao Feng clearly realize that he was only at the bottom of the clan, as small as an ant. There was many stalls in the exchange hall, and every stall all had their own owner, and on the tables were skills, weapons, pills, and other stuff that Zhao Feng didn't recognize. Zhao Feng looked around and he found that half-mortal skills were sold for 1 substandard primal crystal stone. But there weren't many of these skills. Even if there were, they were rare or special. There was a larger number of mortal skills being sold, and low-class mortal skills went for 10 to 20 stones, while middle-class mortal skills went for at least a few hundred substandard primal crystal stones, hundreds of times more expensive than low-class skills. Zhao Feng shook his helplessly, and he found that his marrow cleansing pill was worth only 5 substandard primal crystal stones. Spiritual pills were expensive in the exchange hall because cultivation was the main factor in the clan. Therefore, spiritual pills that helped increase cultivation were fought over fiercely. An outer disciple like Zhao Feng wasn't paid attention to in the exchange hall. Even if he walked over to a stall, the owner wouldn't bother to talk to him. No wonder pill makers have a high position in the clan, he thought in his heart. Slowly and steadily, a thought appeared in Zhao Feng's mind on how he could earn big money. With his talent in refining pills, all he needed to do was create a batch of good pills, and he would be able to make a few primal crystal stones. His limit right now was the 10 substandard primal crystal stones that he had in his hand. Zhao Feng walked around for a long time before using 1 substandard primal crystal stone to buy a large quantity of black cloud coal. Black cloud pill was the worst coal that could light up a pill flame, and it could only be used to create low-tier pills. Normal pills were different from spiritual pills. The latter could help those at the ascended realm, but because Zhao Feng had a limited number of primal crystal stones, he could only buy black cloud coal. He then started to buy the other materials needed to refine pills, and he spent the last 9 substandard primal crystal pills on resources. The most suitable pills I can create right now are the marrow cleansing pill and broken moon breath returning pill, both which are both almost spiritual pills but not quite. The resources Zhao Feng picked all had their respective uses. Marrow cleansing pill. This didn't need to be said. Zhao Feng had used it before, and if it couldn't be sold, he could use it himself. Broken moon breath returning pill. A special pill created by pill masters of the Broken Moon clan, and it had the effect of increasing the rate of regenerating energy. It was suitable for those between the half-step ascended realm and the third skies of the ascended realm. These 2 pills were not quite at the spiritual pill level, but they surpassed the best pills in the mortal world by far. There was 2 reasons why Zhao Feng chose these 2. Firstly, it wasn't hard to create these pills, and the resources weren't expensive. Secondly, the 2 pills were the limit that Zhao Feng could create because of his limited cultivation. Normal spiritual pills had specific requirements for the flame, and most of them needed the pill maker to be at the ascended realm. After spending all his substandard primal crystal stones, the resources that Zhao Feng needed to create pills had been mostly gathered. The ones he didn't have could be taken from the Grasswood Division or from Princess Yun Mengxiang. Zhao Feng then walked unwillingly out of the exchange hall. There were just too many skills, resources, and pills in the hall that he wanted. After walking out of the hall, the heavy-feeling aura instantly faded. "Brother Zhao." A familiar voice sounded from the crowd of people, and the voice made Zhao Feng freeze. A youth wearing a black striped shirt came out from the crowd, and he looked surprisingly at him. Black striped shirts symbolized inner disciples, while outer disciples wore green robes. "Brother Bei." Zhao Feng soon regained his composure, and he opened his left eye to inspect the youth. "Bei moi." The once disciple of Lord Guanjuan, whom the latter had placed all his hopes on. Through his left eye, Zhao Feng found that Bei Moi's cultivation was close to Lord Guanjuan's. Lord Guanjuan was at the second sky of the ascended realm. This meant that Bei Moi was at least at the peak of the first sky of the ascended realm, or at the half-step second sky. It was hard to imagine how Bei Moi's cultivation had increased by leaps and bounds in 1 month. But thinking about how Bei Moi's talent was close to the earth and sky spiritual body and the resources he would have received from the elder, everything wasn't that surprising. "Brother Zhao, we finally meet again in the clan, but the difference between us still remains the same. Bei Moi was expressionless as usual. Zhao Feng didn't back down. It doesn't matter what the difference is. What matters is the final height we can reach. Bei Moi paused slightly as if he was trying to comprehend what Zhao Feng was saying. He then made a mocking laugh. Maybe it was too funny to talk about the future with a half-spiritual body. Since you've already arrived at the clan, our deal will still carry on, Bei Moi said. Then he shook his head and went to the exchange hall. That day won't be far away. Zhao Feng left as well and returned to the outer hall division. Meeting with Bei Moi was just a small problem, but this gave Zhao Feng another goal. After arriving at the outer hall division, Zhao Feng then went to the grasswood division to borrow a few other materials he needed. At last, all the things needed for the marrow cleansing pill and broken moon breath returning pill were collected. You're going to start refining pills? Yun Mengxiang was slightly surprised, but she soon realized what she said was useless. Zhao Feng already had the ability to create pills by himself a few days ago. Back at his courtyard, Zhao Feng closed the door and put the materials in order. He couldn't help but take in a deep breath. The next moment was a critical point. If it succeeded, he would increase by leaps and bounds, but if he failed, he needed at least another 10 days to get 10 substandard primal crystal stones. The first step, putting the materials in. Zhao Feng opened his eye to the max and he entered enhanced vision mode. When he had made pills before, Zhao Feng didn't dare open his left eye to the max. This also meant that Zhao Feng's precision was increased even more, because he didn't allow himself to make any mistakes. The putting materials in step soon succeeded. Next was the second step, lighting the fire. He had done this step many times and it was perfect again. After this was controlling the flame, the most important and hardest step which would directly affect whether or not the pill would be created or not. He had never refined the marrow cleansing pill or the broken moon breath returning pill before. All the knowledge he knew about it was in his mind. The flame lit up and slowly began to expand. The furnace then gave off a low hum, and under the light of the furnace, the picture of an ancient beast appeared. Lighting the flame had succeeded, entering the controlling the flame stage. At this moment, Zhao Feng was extremely nervous and excited, but due to his left eye he calmed down quickly. The left eye gave him precision, accuracy, and control. Therefore, under the complex controlling the flame, Zhao Feng almost couldn't make a mistake unless he had interpreted something wrong. Time slowly passed by. 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours. This wasn't the first time Zhao Feng refined pills, but it was the longest. The pills he had created before at the Grasswood division were all low-class and they were only useful in the mortal world but useless here. The marrow cleansing pill he was refining now was almost a spiritual pill and the most complex one he had refined so far. 3 to 4 hours later, the stage of controlling the flame was coming to an end. Beads of sweat appeared Zhao Feng's forehead. The time he needed to create this batch was a lot more than the others. One had to know that he could only manage around 4 hours or so. Only till 5 hours later was the stage complete. Zhao Feng fell down on the ground powerlessly and gathered all his remaining inner strength to gently tap the air. Pa! The furnace opened and out jumped 4 to 5 pills the size of nails. Zhao Feng reached out and grabbed the 5 marrow cleansing pills. The quantity of pills made in each batch depended on how much material was put in. The amount of material Zhao Feng put in could only create 5 pills. The most important factor right now was the success rate. 1 excellent, 1 normal, 1 useless, and 2 substandard pills. Zhao Feng scanned the pills and immediately came up with the success rate. 40% success rate. Truthfully, this result disappointed him. One had to know that when he had tried before, he had always reached 80% or above with the majority at 100%. Zhao Feng obviously knew that the success rate depended on the refiner's skills as well as what class the pill was. If someone like Old Man Guan did it, his success rate would be at 100% because the level of the marrow cleansing pill was way too low for him. At the same time, the marrow cleansing pill was too hard for Zhao Feng, who was only at the 9th rank of the consolidated realm. Normally, one would need to be at the half-step ascended realm to create a half-spiritual pill. But because Zhao Feng had denser inner strength due to returning breath technique and saved energy due to his precision, he was able to break this normality. This alone would make the other pill makers sigh in the Grasswood division. 2 marrow cleansing pills are worth 10 substandard primal crystal stones. Zhao Feng's eyes lit up. Although his success rate wasn't high, he had still gained a massive profit because the materials used cost only 4 substandard primal crystal stones, and the rest of the materials would be used to create the broken moon breath returning pill. Zhao Feng didn't immediately start again because he thought his success rate was too low and he wasn't skilled nor experienced enough. On the same day, he took out the Holy Pill Bible and without another words, he imprinted its contents into his mind, then started to comprehend it. In the process, Zhao Feng paid extra attention to the key points, tricks and tips. After looking at it once, Zhao Feng immediately felt more knowledgeable. He couldn't but sigh. If he had read this first, there would have been a higher success rate. Only till late night did Zhao Feng put away the Holy Pill Bible. From tomorrow onwards, he would go the clan mission division and learn arrays with Old Man Zhang. But before this, Zhao Feng closed his eyes and the illusion fish picture from the third exam that had been forgotten for so long appeared again. Before this, Zhao Feng didn't gain much insights from the illusion fish picture. This was because he was focusing on the 4 wind stances, and although the illusion fish picture seemed profound, it seemed to be connected with arrays and not martial arts. Zhao Feng realized that the illusion fish picture was not as simple as he thought, and like he thought, this picture had something to do with arrays. He found that the changes in the picture seemed like it contained a sort of law from the heavens. The colors of the fishes, waves of the ocean, light from the sun changed. The changes in scenery gave others a feeling that everything was fake and that the person was tricked every time. Zhao Feng was able to count the number and color of fish due to his left eye. His left eye seemed to be born with the power of seeing through illusions, and under its precision, Zhao Feng was able to reach the 7th scene. But counting the pictures didn't mean that he had understood why it changed. It only meant he was able to not be tricked. Change, fake, real, illusion. Zhao Feng seemed to gain something from the illusion fish picture, and he fully comprehended the first 2 pictures that night. He realized that the enlightenment from the illusion fish picture could be used in martial arts, and it would cause his actions to be full of change, which would make the opponent feel as if his moves were all illusions. Terrifying. Zhao Feng tried it out and felt his star finger and smoking transparent step seemed to have life and not the same stubborn moves. His star finger and smoking transparent step both were full of agility, and they had exceeded the peak level and reached the max level. Max level meant that the skill had started to exceed the original structure on how the skill was planned to be and became a new skill. Zhao Feng got up the second morning and reported to the clan mission division. The clan mission division was a complex place which was in charge of the arrays and a few other things. At the clan mission division, Zhao Feng saw a familiar person, Xiao Sun, who was from the biggest family in seclusion of the Cloud Country. When Xiao Sun had entered the clan, he was already at the 9th rank of the Consolidated Realm, and half a month later, he was now at the half-step Ascended Realm. Zhao Feng understood that Xiao Sun came from the country's biggest family in seclusion, which had a bit of relationship with the clan, and his talent was also great. Brother Zhao seems to be living a good life, being with Princess Yun Mengxiang and Vice Head Guan. You make me jealous. Xiao Sun took the initiative to speak, but his tone was sour. Zhao Feng caught the envy and unwillingness in his eyes. When they had just entered the clan, Xiao Sun was pretty close with Yun Mengxiang. They were a good pair. One came from the country's biggest family in seclusion, while the other was the country's princess. But as time passed, Zhao Feng established his strength and became a substitute inner disciple, and Old Man Guan seemed to place him of great importance. Apart from that, Yun Mengxiang started to approach him, and the closeness of the two surpassed the relationship of Yun Mengxiang and Xiao Sun. No matter how well I live here, it won't be as good as brother Xiao Sun, whom I suspect will become an inner disciple soon. Zhao Feng said humbly, and the second part of his sentence was more of a question. His words hit Xiao Sun's weak spot, and the latter couldn't help but be smug. Haha. Thanks for your good intentions. But before I become an inner disciple, I also want to meet the substitute inner disciples. Being 13th brother Zhao, I really want to exchange moves with you. Xiao Sun laughed lightly and left. Challenge me? Zhao Feng shook his head, and he didn't put this to heart. Even though he knew Xiao Sun had successfully become a substitute inner disciple a few days ago, and was ranked 16th. After reaching the 9th rank of the Consolidated Realm and the 9th level of Silver Wall Technique, Zhao Feng's strength had doubled, and with the help of the illusion fish picture, Zhao Feng was on an entire level compared to tens of days ago. After entering the important grounds of the clan mission division, Zhao Feng once again met Old Man Zhang. Youngster Zhao Feng greets Vice Head. Zhao Feng didn't dare to be respectful. Both Old Man Guan and Old Man Zhang had authority way higher than him. Vice Head Zhang was clothed in white as he smiled towards Zhao Feng. There's a few books here. Beginner Array. The 49 Arrays for Beginners, 12 Ways of Constructing Arrays. Old Man Zhang waved his hands and 7 to 8 books appeared in front of Zhao Feng. When the latter received these books, Old Man Zhang smiled. You can memorize them right now. Zhao Feng paused. Right now? But this couldn't trick him. In just the time it took for tea to boil, he had memorized the contents of these books. Memorizing whatever you see. No wonder. Old Man Zhang wasn't surprised. How did he know I can memorize everything I see? Could it be that Old Man Guan told him? Under Zhao Feng's curious eyes, Old Man Zhang laughed. I already found out that you could memorize everything you see when we met the first time. The changes of the illusion fish picture are extremely complicated, and when the fishes of different colors moved, one must have great memory or else they wouldn't be able to say the correct answer. Hearing this, Zhao Feng couldn't help but sigh in admiration. There's nothing strange about that. You're not the only one who can memorize everything you see. Vice Head Zhang said. Could it be that you're also? Zhao Feng paused slightly and he was extremely surprised. That's right. I was born with this talent. When reading, I only need to look over the contents twice or thrice to memorize it all. But compared to your talent, it's too far off. Old Man Zhang was smug at first, but he started to shake his head bitterly later on. There were many geniuses who could memorize everything they saw, but none of them could be compared to Zhao Feng. On the same day, Vice Head Zhang only told Zhao Feng the basic theory and direction of arrays. Zhao Feng thought that arrays were even more complex than pill refining. Before he left, Old Man Zhang gave a smile. If you're able to comprehend all the 7 books I just gave you, I'll let you use the energy gathering array in the Thousand Leaf Pond. It has great effects for body strengthening. Thousand Leaf Pond? Zhao Feng's heart immediately sped up when he heard this. He had entered the clan for a while now and he knew a bit of information about the mysterious places such as the Floating Crest Palace, Thousand Leaf Pond and Hollow Building. The Floating Crest Palace was the foundation of the clan and it was an extremely mysterious place. Even elders and the sect master might not know the secrets. As for the Thousand Leaf Pond, it couldn't be compared to the Hollow Building and Floating Crest Palace, but it was still a cool place. The area was created by nature and later on, experts from the clan came and set up an energy-gathering array which had now lasted for 1,000 years, and this gave the pond water some special effects. If Zhao Feng was able to enter the Thousand Leaf Pond, it would be great for his silver wall technique. Vice Head Zhang. I heard that only inner disciples are allowed to enter the Thousand Leaf Pond. Zhao Feng asked. Ha ha ha, the Thousand Leaf Pond is an important place in the clan. Even inner disciples can't use it as they wish, but being the vice head of the clan mission division, I'm also in charge of this area. If you have great talent in the arrays, for example, comprehending all the books that I've just given you in 7 days, this can be an excuse to let you enter the Thousand Leaf Pond. Old Man Zhang explained while smiling. Zhao Feng immediately understood. According to the rules, an outer disciple like him wouldn't be allowed to enter the Thousand Leaf Pond. Only a low number of people had this special treatment. But Old Man Zhang was a vice head and he controlled this area so he could let Zhao Feng in the back door. Obviously, Zhao Feng had to display extreme talent in array setting to prove that he had the right to enter. Leaving Old Man Zhang, the 7 books surfaced in Zhao Feng's mind. The books progressed from easy to hard. Out of the 7, beginner's array was the easiest. There wasn't much comprehension needed. One only needed to memorize it and from that alone, 70 to 80% would be learnt. When Zhao Feng had returned to his courtyard, he had learnt the first book, Beginner's Array. Next was the 49 Arrays for Beginners, which gave the reader a basic knowledge of arrays. If it was someone else, they would need at least 2 to 3 years to understand these books. Even a genius would need a few months. From the second book onwards, Zhao Feng started to feel it become difficult. From a certain point of view, old man Zhang was making things difficult by giving him these 7 books. This was an impossible task for a normal prodigy. But Zhao Feng still tried to comprehend them all. The second book, 49 Arrays for Beginners, wasn't that hard either. He could probably finish it by tonight. But while trying to gain enlightenment from it, Zhao Feng realized something. The illusion fish picture had similarities with the contents of these books, like they came from the same origin. This also meant that if he tried to comprehend the illusion fish picture and Arrays books at the same time, it would be faster. Excitement shone in Zhao Feng's eyes. It was like he wanted to swallow them in one gulp. But a news that afternoon stopped him. Substitute inner disciple Zhao Feng. Substitute disciple Xiao Sun, ranked 16th, has challenged you, and he will fight you in 3 days. This piece of news came from the Outer Hall Division. Challenger Xiao Sun, ranked 16th. Challenged, Zhao Feng, rank 13th. This Xiao Sun is actually challenging me? Zhao Feng threw the letter to the side and he didn't put it to heart. But before long, Princess Yun Mengxiang came. You must be careful of Xiao Sun. He's trained the Xiao family skill Blazing Sun sword technique, which is a simplified version of the middle-class mortal skill of the Broken Moon clan, Blazing Sun Manual. After entering the clan, he spent a lot of primal crystal stones and got a complete copy of Blazing Sun Manual through his connections. Ever since he got this manual, his cultivation had increased by leaps and bounds. With his half-step Ascended Realm cultivation, he has the ability to challenge the top 10. Yun Mengxiang said solemnly, middle-class mortal skill? Hearing this, even Zhao Feng was slightly moved. Mortal skills were holy martial arts in the mortal world, and they were split into low, middle, high, peak, and the difference between every rank was huge. It was the difference between the clouds and mud. Peak-class mortal skills were what made the Broken Moon clan famous. Its power couldn't be imagined. If one was to ask how strong a middle-class mortal skill was, then one had to mention Bei Mua's rippling technique. Back then, when they were sparring at the Guanjuan Palace, Bei Mua had beaten Nan Gongfan, Yang Qingshan, Zhao Feng and the others with only one move. At that time, Yang Qingshan, Nan Gongfan and Zhao Feng had all learnt holy martial arts, and although there was a slight difference between their cultivation, it wasn't big. After entering the clan, Zhao Feng started to realize that Bei Mua's rippling technique should be a middle-class mortal skill. And now, Zhao Feng's opponent also had a middle-class mortal skill and had reached the half-step, Ascended Realm. Middle-class mortal skills are way too hard for one to learn under the Ascended Realm. So how high could Xiao Sun have reached in the Blazing Sun Manual? A surge of confidence appeared from Zhao Feng. Unless Xiao Sun was as talented as Bei Mua, he wouldn't have reached a high level. Seeing Zhao Feng's reaction, Yun Mengxiang was only slightly surprised because she had gotten to know Zhao Feng's attitude over the past few days. There's also one more thing, Yun Mengxiang said after slight hesitation. Speak. Zhao Feng immediately responded. It's like this. The situation of your 2 brothers aren't exactly good. Did you know this? Yun Mengxiang said carefully. Nan Gongfan and Yang Qingshan? What happened? Zhao Feng's expression changed slightly. Soon, Zhao Feng and Yun Mengxiang had arrived at where the outer disciples lived. Zhao Feng had lived at this place previously because he was once a normal outer disciple. Zhao Feng came to Yang Qingshan's room, then he knocked and opened the door. What he saw was a skinny face. Yang Qingshan paused as he saw Zhao Feng, and he was about to say something, but he spat out a mouthful of blood instead. Brother Yang. Zhao Feng immediately gave Yang Qingshan a blood pill that he had received in the Grasswood Division. After taking the pill, Yang Qingshan started to feel a bit better. Then Nan Gongfan next door walked inside. Instead of being internally injured like Yang Qingshan, Nan Gongfan had received external injuries. After a bit of questioning, Zhao Feng found out that the 2 had been bullied by a few substitute inner disciples with Ho Yuan leading them. These bastards just come and purposely make trouble for us when they have nothing to do, Nan Gongfan said with a dim expression. Soon, Zhao Feng understood what had happened. When he had beat Ji Fengyun that day and established his strength, the 2 started to have stable lives, but the good scene didn't last long. 4 to 5 days ago, Ho Yuan as well as the Hong brothers, ranked 8th and 9th, started to make trouble for them. In just a few days' time, Nan Gongfan and Yang Qingshan had no will to cultivate or work anymore. Ho Yuan only appeared a few times. It was the Hong brothers who mainly attacked. The Hong brothers were twins and called Hong San and Hong Si respectively. The pair of twins had high talent and they had been ranked 8th and 9th for a long time. Why didn't you tell me earlier? Zhao Feng tried to suppress his anger. Nan Gongfan and Yang Qingshan had looks of shame and bitterness. We were scared that we would disrupt Brother Zhao and we thought that we could take it for a while. Nan Gongfan lowered his head and he was scared to look Zhao Feng in the eye. Looks like I need to find a better way that will last longer. Zhao Feng slowly stood up as a cold light flashed in his eyes. The expressions of Nan Gongfan and Yang Qingshan changed dramatically. Brother Zhao, don't be rash. Ho Yuan challenged 3rd place a few days ago and won. 3rd place. That was the top tier of the outer disciples. They were only half a line away from becoming an inner disciple. Anxiousness appeared on Yun Mingxiang's face as she tried to prevent Zhao Feng from doing something rash. Relax, that was my original goal anyway. Zhao Feng's voice was full of composure. Yun Mengxiang realized that his eyes were cold and calm. There was no sign of rashness. Furthermore, Yun Mengxiang had never seen Zhao Feng do something rash. It was like everything was under his control. Tang! Zhao Feng's figure blurred as he headed in a certain direction. Brother Zhao, where are you going? The 3 behind him called out as they followed him. To the outer hall division. Zhao Feng's voice was full of cold killing intent. In just a while, Zhao Feng had arrived at the outer hall division. The outer hall division was in charge of all the outer disciples and how the disciples were treated. The day is late. Why are you here? An old man of the ascended realm asked as his eyebrows raised up. Challenging a substitute inner disciple. Zhao Feng said, Your name. The gaze of the old man, who was at the ascended realm, turned to Zhao Feng. Challenging 9th place. Hong Si. Challenging 8th place. Hong San. Challenging 3rd place. Ho Yuan. A voice full of killing intent and coldness echoed the hall. What? The eyeball of the old man twirled as he exclaimed, There's no rule saying that you can challenge them all. At the same time, the expressions of Yun Mengxiang, Nan Gongfan and Yang Qingshan, who had just caught up, changed. This was just too crazy. Brother Zhao. Under their screams of shock, they realized that there was no sign of Zhao Feng losing his emotions. It would shock everyone if one decided to challenge 9th, 8th and 3rd at once. Nope. This doesn't go with the rules. The old man at the ascended realm shook his head. Zhao Feng stood unmoving as if he was unwilling. He wanted to challenge all 3 at once because it would save time. But if this wasn't possible, all he could do was fight one at a time. Just as Zhao Feng was about to give up. Agree to his terms. An arrogant cold voice sounded from the depths of the hall like it was a god. Agree to his terms. A cold voice sounded as a strong surge of mental energy appeared. Everything in a few hundred yards radius fell silent. Zhao Feng felt that the owner of this voice was familiar, and looking up, it was a middle-aged man in azure, the vice head he had seen before. Vice head! The heart of the ascended realm old man trembled as he nodded his head. Greetings, vice head. I'll immediately pass Zhao Feng's challenge. Shua! The azure-clothed middle-aged man glanced at Zhao Feng, then left an afterimage in the air as he disappeared. Zhao Feng understood that vice heads had cultivation close to the true spirit realm, and they held high authority in the clan. Zhao Feng, in 3 days you shall face the ranked 3rd, 8th and 9th substitute inner disciples. Apart from that, you will also face Shao Sun's challenge. The expression of the old man changed as he kept on speaking. This meant that Zhao Feng would fight 4 battles at once, of which 3 were ranked higher than him and 1 lower. Ho Yuan, who was ranked 3rd and one of the strongest outer disciples, would also be there. Understood. Zhao Feng turned around and left, leaving behind the others who were all stunned. Nan Gongfan and Yang Qingshan didn't know what to say. They were obviously shocked by Zhao Feng's insane move. Surprise was written over Yun Mingxiang's face. It was a long time before she regained composure. Tang! Zhao Feng's figure flashed and he returned to his courtyard. Yang Qingshan was about to go chase him, but she was stopped by Nan Gongfan. In the 3 days, Brother Zhao will be focusing on increasing his strength. It's better for us to not disturb him. No one was able to stop Zhao Feng now. On that very night, a piece of news shocked the entire outer disciples. Someone was challenging 3 substitute inner disciples at once, and every one of them was ranked in the top 10, with the best being third. Almost every outer disciples heard this news, and many of them came to ask Yang Qingshan and Nan Gongfan. The two were extremely anxious and guilty because all of this started because of them. A lot of outer disciples were waiting for the 3 days to pass. Inside a courtyard. The challenge in 3 days. Xiao Sun shall defeat you so badly that you won't be able to go any further. Xiao Sun's fists were clenched as a surge of battle intent appeared from him. His gaze traveled to the 13th courtyard where Zhao Feng lived. Being ranked 16th, there was only 2 courtyards between them. Dark night, in a pavilion stood 4 figures. One of them was a handsome youth who wore a black striped shirt, meaning that he was an inner disciple. Brother Quan Chen, Ho Yuan said respectfully. Quan Chen stood with his hands behind his back as a cold smile appeared. It looks like I've underestimated Zhao Feng's guts. How dare he try and fight back against me? Brother Quan Chen, it's okay. He won't be able to beat me, Ho Yuan said slowly. Ha ha ha, that brat's gonna fight 4 battles that day, and he'll first have to beat Xiao Sun, which will cost him a lot of energy. After meeting us, he'll lose a layer of skin if he doesn't die. The Hong brothers were confident. Quan Chen nodded his head as he scanned Ho Yuan and the Hong brothers. Zhao Feng was like an egg trying to smash a stone. But there was also a suspicious point. Why would Zhao Feng challenge the 3 when he would face Xiao Sun as well? The 4 battles were all gathered on one day. Was Zhao Feng a retard? What's the point of him doing this? This thought flashed in their hearts then passed. Since they've already decided that Zhao Feng would lose horribly, why did the process matter? Time flew by and the 3 days were coming to an end. In the past few days, no one came to disturb Zhao Feng, and the latter only stayed in his room and he didn't come out. Everyone was sure that Zhao Feng would be grabbing each and every second to cultivate and sharpen himself. But in reality, Zhao Feng spent most of his time comprehending the illusion fish picture and the array books. Zhao Feng wanted to learn the 7 books so that he would be able to enter the 1,000-leaf pond and improve his body. To enter the ascended realm with his body. This was Zhao Feng's current goal. For this, he had eaten one of the marrow cleansing pills he had refined. Marrow cleansing pill was extremely effective for those under the ascended realm, and it could increase one's attributes. But because this was the 2nd time he was taking one, the effect was only half of the one before. However, because of his mysterious left eye, he could absorb more energy, and even though the energy taken in was only half of the one before, it wasn't any worse than anyone else taking it for the first time. After he ate the marrow cleansing pill, Zhao Feng circulated silver wall technique and returning breath technique and felt his body and organs strengthen. The rise in his attributes increased Zhao Feng's foundation for the silver wall technique. He even felt that his inner strength was denser and stronger than before. On the 3rd day, Zhao Feng was sure that his returning breath technique had reached the highest level and the quantity and quality of his inner strength had surpassed what it was supposed to be. This meant that his returning breath technique had reached the max level and even surpassed it a bit, therefore his inner strength was at least on par with a normal cultivator of the half-step ascended realm. The only regret was that silver wall technique didn't rise much. There was still a distance to the late stages of the 9th level, but Zhao Feng understood that because his attributes had risen, the breakthrough in body strengthening would be much easier. Therefore, the peak 9th level of the silver wall technique had no resistance. All he needed was 10 days' time at most. As for the last marrow cleansing pill, Zhao Feng decided to sell it and get some primal crystal stones back. He had used 5 substandard primal crystal stones to buy the materials needed to make 2 marrow cleansing pills, and each pill could sell for 5 primal crystal stones. The next morning, Zhao Feng walked out of his courtyard and took in a breath of fresh air as he yawned. Zhao Feng realized that there were many outer disciples near his courtyard. Did Zhao Feng come out? Today's the day of the battle. He won't be a turtle and hide. Will he? This bunch of outer disciples would all love it if the heavens fell. No one didn't like to watch shows, and this show had shocked all the outer disciples. Being the troublemaker, Zhao Feng was the focus of everyone. Over the past few days, his name had become famous. Brother Zhao, Nan Gongfan and Yang Qingshan all came quickly over. At the beginning, Yang Qingshan and Nan Gongfan were angry that Zhao Feng was too rash. Let's go. Zhao Feng's calm eyes had a sharpness to them, which made others to not dare to look straight at him. The hearts of Yang Qingshan and the others shook. At this moment, Brother Zhao gave the feeling of being a sword that could pierce through everything. They seemed to finally realize that none of them could see through Zhao Feng. Back at Lord Guanjuan's, they felt that Bei Moi was the most terrifying, but they all knew how strong Bei Moi was. Unlike Zhao Feng in front of them, who gave the feeling of mysterious, none of them knew where his limit was. Soon, Zhao Feng appeared under the guarding of many outer disciples and arrived at the stage where substitute disciples fought. More and more people started to gather nearby. The outer disciples had the number of people. From 10 years old to 30 years old, disciples of different ages all lived here, and there was 200 to 300 people here, almost half the number of outer disciples. Zhao Feng's eyes scanned the crowd and he soon saw Xiao Sun. Being the challenger, Xiao Sun arrived earlier. Next, Ho Yuan and the Hong brothers all appeared one by one. These three were all at the half-step ascended realm, and the auras they released made the other disciples nearby feel uneasy. This was especially so for Ho Yuan, who was ranked third, where his gaze made those under his sight lower their heads and avoid it. Zhao Feng knew a bit about Ho Yuan, and then his eyes moved onto the Hong brothers. The Hong brothers, Hong San and Hong Si, were twins, and they looked the same. They both had short hair with muscular bodies. As they walked, their muscles bulged, but not so much that it would affect their agility. Today's battles shall be overlooked by me. Deacon Qiu slowly walked out and released his seventh sky of the Ascended Realm aura, which made the outer disciples realize how low they really were in the clan. The crowd soon quieted down. There was even a few other deacons and vice-deacons here today with interested expressions. The first battle, Xiao Sun, ranked 16th, challenges Zhao Feng, ranked 13th. Deacon Qiu's voice resounded across the area. Tang! Just as he finished, Xiao Sun's figure flashed and like a stream of fire, landed on the stage. Zhao Feng lightly jumped through the air and landed on the stage as well. The first battle, Xiao Sun versus Zhao Feng. The newly entered disciples were extremely excited. Both Xiao Sun and Zhao Feng joined the clan at the same time, and Xiao Sun always had the highest cultivation, whereas Zhao Feng was famed for his battle power. Zhao Feng, you accepted my challenge and still dared to challenge Ho Yuan and company, meaning that you're not putting me in your eyes. Xiao Sun murmured in his heart. In his left eye, a red light appeared, full of battle intent and anger. Under the circulation of the middle-class mortal, skill blazing sun manual, a fiery red aura spread across the stage as the temperature rose. He was like a god of fire. In that instant, Xiao Sun's battle intent and power reached its peak. His half-step ascended realm cultivation and middle-class mortal skill blazing sun manual gave him the ability to attack Zhao Feng anytime he wanted. How does someone who just entered the clan have a middle-class mortal skill? The nearby outer disciples were all stunned. Apart from Lin Fan, who's ranked first of the substitute inner disciples, I've never heard of anyone else with a middle-class mortal skill. Those who had middle-class mortal skills had a far greater advantage. Damn it! Brother Zhao's first opponent is already so troublesome. Yang Qingshan and Nan Gongfan exchanged glances. Both of them were solemn. Everyone knew that Zhao Feng would face 4 people today, and none of them were easy. On the contrary, as each battle progressed, the opponent was more terrifying. Therefore, everyone didn't even think about Zhao Feng winning. They were thinking about how long he could last, and from the current situation, the first battle with Xiao Sun was harder than expected. Ha 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 ha. It looks like we might not even have the chance to fight. The Hong brothers let out a laugh. On the stage, Zhao Feng calmly inspected his first opponent. He would fight 4 battles today, and therefore, he must finish the first battle fast. He even had to finish the first 3 battles in the shortest time possible because the most terrifying person was Ho Yuan, and Zhao Feng must preserve his strength for him. Zhao Feng, the first battle will also be your last. A red light flashed in Xiao Sun's eyes as his burning aura surged around Zhao Feng. What terrifying inner strength and speed! It was like Zhao Feng had fallen into an ocean of fire. Before he could even make a move, his opponent had already condensed his inner strength and attacked. Boom! The bright red fist was like a meteor that thrust heavily towards Zhao Feng. Flowing wind stance. Smoking transparent step. Zhao Feng's figure blurred and disappeared. Then like a fish, he began to swerve around Xiao Sun's attacks. The red light and flashing figure made the crowd below unable to see properly. They could see Xiao Su's attacks, but not Zhao Feng's figure. Ever since the latter had comprehended the illusion fish picture, Zhao Feng's smoking transparent step had exceeded the max level. Zhao Feng's figure was blurry, real, fake and full of change. Although Xiao Sun's attack was strong, none of them could even touch Zhao Feng's clothes. His speed skill was also great, and Xiao Sun couldn't detect which figure of Zhao Feng was real. He would get tricked by the illusion every time. This speed skill seems to contain enlightenment from arrays. Could it be? Deacon Qiu stared at Zhao Feng's figure as a stunned look passed through his eyes. The two on stage exchanged moves for a moment, and although Xiao Sun's Blazing Sun manual was indeed powerful, he missed every time. But his strength still made the top 10 substitute inner disciples shocked. Even Zhao Feng didn't want to face him head-on. Firstly, he used a middle-class mortal skill, and even though Xiao Sun hadn't trained it to a high level, it was still powerful. Secondly, Zhao Feng wanted to conserve his strength for the later battles. Blazing Sun 3 strikes. A faint red glow appeared on Xiao Sun's body as a hot red fist thrust out 3 times one after another, creating a wide-ranged wave attack. The faint red air wave blew out in all directions. Just from this move alone, he could beat Ji Fengyun, who was ranked 13th before. No wonder he had the confidence to challenge Zhao Feng. Break! Zhao Feng's illusional figure flashed around Xiao Sun, and at this time, he finally made his move. Pew! 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 His second finger stabbed out repetitively from different positions. Some streaks of light were straight, others curved, but they still pierced towards Xiao Sun. Xiao Sun's face instantly paled because Zhao Feng's attacks was full of agility, and the real attacks were hard to find. All he heard was the sound of inner strength being released, and therefore, he tried to find Zhao Feng's position by sound. But after Starfinger had merged with the enlightenments gained from the illusion fish picture, it was almost an entirely new skill. The damage was greater and full of agility and illusions. What you see and what you hear might not be real because ears and eyes could be tricked by illusions. Shush! A streak of light pierced through Xiao Sun's shoulder, leaving a bloody gash, and it made the latter's body shake. Immediately came the second and third gash. Xiao Sun was in a desperate situation, and he had to furiously circulate Blazing Sun manual to try and retaliate. But every time he did, he wouldn't even be able to touch Zhao Feng's clothes. Zhao Feng's speed and offense skills always tricked Xiao Sun. In just a moment, there were 7 to 8 bloody gashes on Xiao Sun's body, and his hair had been ruffled as he kept on puffing. Give up! 2 figures became one in front of Xiao Sun, showing Zhao Feng's true body. Xiao Sun had spent a lot of energy and he had been injured. If it wasn't because Zhao Feng had gone easy, he might have already lost his life. But the feeling of not being able to even touch Zhao Feng throughout the battle made him lose his mind. Blazing Sun wave destruction. Xiao Sun's palm sliced through the air and hit Zhao Feng, who was in front of him. This scene caused Yang Qingshan and company below to exclaim in fear and think that Zhao Feng was too careless. Plop! Zhao Feng's figure disappeared into the air. Xiao Sun shouted shit in his heart, and before he could react, a sharp inner strength pierced him from behind. The power of this attack shot through his body. Xiao Sun's body turned stale as he barely managed to turn around and see Zhao Feng's cold eyes. If this was a real life-death battle, you would have died 1,000 times already. What's the point of having high cultivation and strong offensive skills? If your real battle strength is weak, then there's no use. The first battle, the challenger Xiao Sun loses, Deacon Qiu announced. After Xiao Sun lost, the Hong brothers took back their arrogance, and their expressions turned solemn instead. From the fight just then, Xiao Sun's strength could be ranked top 10, and an elite such as him had been toyed with by Zhao Feng. It could be imagined that Zhao Feng's strength was only stronger than them and not any weaker. The second battle, Zhao Feng ranked 13th versus Hong Si ranked 4th. Zhao Feng became the challenger now. Sang. Hong Si's bulky figure was like a cat as he pounced on stage. Zhao Feng's pupil contracted slightly. He found that Hong Si's movements were agile, and he could see the immense power contained within the latter's body. An agile body, not only has he reached a high level in body strengthening, he's also reached the half-step ascended realm. He had an image of Hong Si's strength. In terms of body strengthening and speed, Hong Si was much better than Xiao Sun before. Iron plow arm. Hong Si's figure jumped in front of Zhao Feng, and he thrust his fists heavily towards Zhao Feng. Boom! A 50 centimeters hole was created on the stage, which was made from the pure black rock. Hong Si's iron plow arm was an extremely dominant skill which swept everything. Zhao Feng immediately responded with smoking transparent step, and he evaded Hong Si's attacks. But Hong Si's battle consciousness was better than Xiao Sun's, and he would catch onto Zhao Feng's figure. One-line star finger. A screeching sound suddenly appeared and swerved through the air before piercing through Hong Si's defensive barrier. Shush! A bloody mark was left on Hong Si's leg as the latter roared in pain. The reason Zhao Feng was successful was because he was able to catch Hong Si's minor flaw with his left eye. Hong Si himself didn't even know what went on just then. After being injured in the leg, Hong Si's speed slowed down and he was soon hit again and again by Zhao Feng's star finger. Only till 10 bloody gashes later was he kicked off stage by Zhao Feng. Plop! Hong Si landed on his face and grinded his teeth in hatred. If he wasn't injured in the leg from the beginning, which slowed down his movement, he wouldn't have lost so quickly. Hong San. This guy's a bit weird. Be careful. Hong Si told Hong San, who was about to go up, what just happened. His older brother's strength was greater than his and he was calmer. Hong San. You don't need to beat this brat. All you need to do is waste a bit of time with him and make him use more energy. A voice sounded in his ear. Hong San nodded his head after hearing this, and he walked on stage slowly and steadily. Zhao Feng couldn't help but inspect his third opponent closely. Hong San's aura was deeper than his brother's. Iron Eagle God Claw. Hong San's speed skill could retreat and advance, and he was extremely agile. His attack was sharp and as fast as lightning. Pa! The lightning-fast claw, which could shatter iron a few centimeters thick, slashed through the air. Smoking transparent step. Zhao Feng's figure became blurry again and dodged Hong San's deadly move. The two figures next began to exchange their moves respectively. Zhao Feng found that Hong San never attacked hastily. The latter was always focused and he didn't look down on his opponent. Hong San's eyes were sharp as he looked coldly at Zhao Feng. Brat surnamed Zhao, I admit that you're stronger than me, but it won't be easy to beat me. His aim was just to waste Zhao Feng's energy. Nothing else. Zhao Feng felt a bit troubled when facing Hong San, and although Hong San was stronger than Hong Si and Xiao Sun, this wasn't the main reason. It was because of his opponent's attitude. Firstly, he had admitted he wasn't as strong as Zhao Feng. This meant that he wouldn't look down on his opponent. On the contrary, he would use 200% of his power to fight Zhao Feng. Apart from that, his aim wasn't to win. His only goal was to expend Zhao Feng's energy. From the 2 points alone, Hong San would have almost no flaws. Even though Zhao Feng's movement skill was profound, Hong San didn't hastily attack. Instead, he tried to find out where Zhao Feng's actual position was. I can beat him in tens of moves. But then, Zhao Feng's figure flashed and appeared in front of Hong San again. Facing the calm Hong San, Zhao Feng decided to change his tactics. Instead of using skill, he would use absolute strength to suppress him. Zhao Feng took in a light breath and released his aura. Instantly, Zhao Feng's aura rose half a level, which made Hong San's expression change. Ho Yuan's pupil contracted as he watched from below. A lot of people were stunned. They didn't expect Zhao Feng still to be holding back. This meant that while fighting Xiao Sun and Hong Si, Zhao Feng didn't expend much energy at all. Impossible! The amount of energy he can store is even more than me. Xiao Sun stared at Zhao Feng, who was getting stronger with every moment, with a pale face. One Lin star finger. Zhao Feng used his max-level star finger, and even though he didn't merge the 4 wind stances into it this time, the power still shocked the crowd. Boom! 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 Streak after streak of azure light swept towards Hong San like a flock of birds. Hong San's face was pale white as he circulated his half-step, ascended Ream inner strength, and spread a defensive barrier out. Limitless mountain. Hong San spread out his arms and his aura turned as stable and deep as Mount Tai as it clashed with Zhao Feng's attacks. Pong! An explosion sounded between the two as rocks and dust were sent flying. From the looks of it, this was a battle of inner strength. But after a few seconds, Hong San grunted and was pushed back. While using his full strength, a flaw had appeared and Zhao Feng had taken advantage of it. A smile appeared of Zhao Feng's lips. He didn't believe that the opponent would be flawless when using their full strength. When tactics didn't work, overwhelming strength might be the best way, and Zhao Feng forcefully made the opponent make an error. One-line star finger. Tornado stance. Zhao Feng kept on attacking while he had the advantage, and after the merging of the tornado stance, the power rose to another level. Pew! Pew! Cho! The streaks of light were like a meteor shower, and the power had exceeded the limits of the consolidated realm. The watching outer disciples stared with open mouths. At this moment, they had to admit Zhao Feng could be ranked in the top 5 and have the right to challenge third place. Wah! Hong San was only able to block a few moves before he spat out a mouthful of blood. Even though he tried his best just to expend Zhao Feng's energy, he still lost horribly. According to his original plan, he was to waste time and waste Zhao Feng's energy. But he didn't expect the latter to use one of his best moves and beat him in such a short amount of time. I tried my best. Hong San looked helplessly towards Ho Yuan. Ho Yuan's expression was still calm. You've already forced Zhao Feng to use all his strength, so he should have expended a bit of energy. The spectators went crazy as Zhao Feng won his third battle. Before today, none of them would have thought that Zhao Feng would be able to take care of 3 opponents so quickly and efficiently. From the current situation, it seemed that Zhao Feng won his fights pretty easily. There was no hard-fought battles. After beating Hong San, Zhao Feng replaced his rank. The 4th challenge, Zhao Feng ranked 8th versus Ho Yuan ranked 3rd. Expectations flashed in Deacon Chio's eyes. After winning 3 battles in a row, was Zhao Feng able to win the last one as well? Everyone knew that Ho Yuan was Zhao Feng's greatest opponent today. Being ranked 3rd, Ho Yuan was one of the overlords of the outer disciples, and he had even challenged cultivators who had reached the ascended realm. From a certain point of view, Ho Yuan's strength had exceeded the consolidated realm. Zhao Feng, you won't have any chance facing me. Ho Yuan's bulky and muscular figure shook the stage. Cracks like spider webs appeared on the hard pure black stone. In just dropping on stage, Ho Yuan had already showed how strong he was. Shush! Ho Yuan's clothes were thrown away, revealing his body. The aura he released could frighten away peak-tier deadly beasts. See! The outer disciples all took in a cold breath, and shock appeared in their eyes. Aura close to a Lord-tier deadly beast. Zhao Feng's heart skipped a beat. Compared to half a month ago, Ho Yuan's strength had increased. No wonder he was able to replace the original 3rd place. Zhao Feng's left eye could see that Ho Yuan's body had almost reached the ascended realm. Both he and Ho Yuan focused on body strengthening, and their goal was the same, to enter the ascended realm with their bodies. But comparing the two, Ho Yuan was closer than Zhao Feng. After all, Ho Yuan had entered the clan earlier and had trained for a long time. If he was able to go half a step further, he would be the first outer disciple to enter the ascended realm with his body in the past 100 years. Sang! Sang! Ho Yuan closed in on Zhao Feng step by step. Small golden metal fist. Ho Yuan's fist seemed to expand as a layer of gold covered it. Zhao Feng's left eye contracted slightly as his expression turned solemn. Boom! The moment the fist had been thrust out, Ho Yuan's body and fist had appeared in front of Zhao Feng. The explosive energy and speed of Ho Yuan surpassed the Hong brothers easily. The spectating outer disciples stared in shock. Ho Yuan's fist could instantly kill any cultivator at the 9th rank of the consolidated realm. Silver Wall Mountain opening. In the nick of time, Zhao Feng's strength exploded as well. Fist clashed against fist, full of wildness and power. No tactic or skills were involved at all. All the outer disciples heard a bang. before their ears trembled and they lost their hearing. Tung tung tung. Zhao Feng and Hou Yuan both retreated at once and left cracks on the ground. Zhao Feng had retreated 9 steps before he stabilized his body, while Hou Yuan had only taken 8 steps. Hou Yuan had gained the upper hand slightly, but this scene shocked the outer disciples below. Zhao Feng wasn't crushed by Hou Yuan, even though they were fighting head-on. That guy also focuses on body strengthening, and he is able to counter Hou Yuan. Discussion broke out nearby. This was something that no one expected. The most stunned person was Hou Yuan himself. He clearly knew how hard it was to strengthen one's body, and it was hard to imagine how the youth in front of him, who was only 14 to 15 years, was able to reach such a level. One had to know that his own age was 24 to 25, he was 10 years older than Zhao Feng. If he couldn't reach the Ascended Realm by 30, he would be thrown away by the clan. His body strengthening level has indeed reached a higher level than me. Zhao Feng's expression was as calm as water as the power of his left eye opened. His silver wall technique focused on increasing power and defense. Hou Yuan had trained in a body strengthening technique that wasn't any worse than silver wall technique, and it had reached a higher level. I never thought that you also focused on body strengthening and trained it to high level. But today you will still lose. Hou Yuan's expression was cold as his muscles tensed. Through his left eye, Zhao Feng realized that Hou Yuan's inner strength and body strengthening technique both perfectly merged with his bones. Crack! Crack! Hou Yuan's bones cracked as he released a terrifying aura. Zhao Feng's heart jumped. He had the feeling that he was fighting a Lord-tier deadly beast. It was hard to imagine what level Hou Yuan had reached with his body strengthening technique to be able to perfectly merge his inner strength and body together. Gold-bronze casting body. Hou Yuan's aura suddenly rose another half a level as a golden, bronze-colored appeared on his body. After using this technique gold-bronze casting body, Hou Yuan had the ability to challenge those at the Ascended Realm. Small gold metal fist. A golden fist thrust through the air and enveloped Zhao Feng. The speed was too fast. If it was under a normal situation, Zhao Feng wouldn't be able to react in time. But at this moment, Zhao Feng's left eye was open to the max and he was able to block Hou Yuan's lightning quick strike. Pong! Zhao Feng's body was sent back tens of yards. If it wasn't because his silver wall technique's forte was defense, the punch just then would have caused him to vomit blood. Down! Hou Yuan had forced Zhao Feng to the edge of the stage. If he fell off stage, it would mean that he lost. Shua! Zhao Feng's figure was destroyed by a fist. Hou Yuan had missed this time. Flowing wind stance. Smoking transparent step. Zhao Feng merged the enlightenment from flowing wind stance into his max level movement skill. Instantly, Zhao Feng's speed skill reached its peak level. The comprehension gained from illusion fish picture was merged more and Zhao Feng became closer to a fish. Hou Yuan's movement skill was his weakness when compared to Zhao Feng. Many times he had been tricked by Zhao Feng and his attacks missed. At this moment, Zhao Feng's left eye opened as he started to inspect Hou Yuan's gold-bronze casting body. Gold-bronze casting body. This was Hou Yuan's killing move, and when used, his power and defense would rise to another level. Zhao Feng had been pushed back just then and he was almost injured. At this moment, Zhao Feng opened his left eye to inspect the move's flaws. In his enhanced vision mode, sizzles of red gold light appeared in Hou Yuan's body. Perfect merging between body strengthening technique and inner strength. Another half a step more and he will reach the Ascended Realm with his body. Zhao Feng's heart jumped. No wonder there was rumors that the top substitute inner disciples had the ability to challenge those at the Ascended Realm. Body strengthening technique was the simplest way of cultivation, and it was about domination others with power. Therefore, the flaws of body strengthening techniques were actually quite small. Zhao Feng opened his left eye and he couldn't find any obvious flaws. He could see the principle behind the gold-bronze casting body, but because the style of the two body strengthening techniques were different, he couldn't use it on himself in a short amount of time. Brat! I'll see how long can you last. Hou Yuan's voice sounded as his offense rate decreased. Instead, he tried his best to find Zhao Feng's figure, and he didn't attack rashly. After Zhao Feng's movement skill had merged with the illusion fish picture, there was illusions everywhere which suited chaotic situations. So when the opponent made more moves, they were easier to get tricked. A calm, logical person would restrict their movement, which would make the effect of the illusion fish picture decrease. In a short amount of time, Hou Yuan didn't move. He was trying to find Zhao Feng's true body and he wouldn't waste energy. If the enemy doesn't move, I shall. Star Finger. Zhao Feng laughed coldly and sent his max-level Star Finger at Hou Yuan. Ding ding ding. Sparks appeared as the attacks landed on Hou Yuan. These sharp moves didn't even pierce through his defense. Ha ha ha. This is your attack. What terrifying defense. Zhao Feng's heart skipped a beat. The defense of the gold-bronze casting body was even stronger than his silver air barriers. Small gold metal fist. Hou Yuan exclaimed as he locked onto Zhao Feng and thrust out his fist. The wind alone from the fist could destroy cultivators at the 8th and 9th rank of the consolidated realm. Silver air barrier. Zhao Feng circulated his inner strength to the max and he used the defensive skill of silver wall technique. A thin layer of transparent silver appeared on his skin. Boom! The fist hit its target and the silver transparent barrier shook and its color dimmed down. Zhao Feng felt like there was a mountain bearing down on him, and under this pressure, his returning breath technique exceeded the max level. Crack! Under the move that could even push back some at the ascended realm, the silver air barrier finally broke. But Zhao Feng had used this energy to jump back tens of yards, and he retreated by using his smoking transparent step. Tang! Tang! Hou Yuan was also pushed back by the destruction of the silver air barrier, and his expression turned solemn for the first time. From the beginning till now, Zhao Feng's performance in speed, movement and power had exceeded his expectations once again, and he was able to fight him to a par in a short amount of time. In terms of movement, Hou Yuan had to admit he wasn't as good as Zhao Feng. Zhao Feng had comprehended the illusion fish picture, and it was best when used with speed skills especially, so smoking transparent step had exceeded the max level. Furthermore, returning breath technique had given Zhao Feng dense and thick inner strength. If Zhao Feng wanted to, he could fight to a standstill. This was something that Hou Yuan didn't want to see. But Zhao Feng's goal wasn't to fight to a draw. Star Finger. Tornado Stance. Small gold metal fist. Silver wall mountain opener. The two figures intertwined at times and split up. Zhao Feng was the one who attacked, while Hou Yuan was on the defensive. The outer disciples were all shocked. This Zhao Feng has strength comparable to Hou Yuan. Humph. He's just relying on his speed skill to counter Hou Yuan. If they fought head-on, Zhao Feng wouldn't be Hou Yuan's opponent. Speed skill is also a part of strength. In terms of speed, he's able to beat every outer disciple. No matter what they said, the crowd was still stunned at Zhao Feng's true strength. Their gazes were focused on the two figures on the stage. Zhao Feng's movement skill was profound, and every time the spectators would get tricked, out of 10 attacks, Hou Yuan could only get in a maximum of 2 to 3 attacks on the real target, and he had to rely on luck. Just as the two had fought 40 to 50 moves, no result was to be seen. Tornado Stance. Mysterious Wind Palm. Zhao Feng suddenly leapt into the air and his fighting style had changed. An azure light appeared from his palm that spun in circles faster and faster, and it pulled the nearby wind into it. The move seemed slow, but it was in fact extremely fast, and it seemed to use the power of nature to slice through everything in its path. It's that move! Ji Fengyun, who was watching below, held his breath. Zhao Feng's move was the mysterious wind palm, which had beat Ji Fengyun that day, and now Zhao Feng's move was now 1 to 2 times stronger than before. Gold Metal Sky Pole. Hou Yuan solemnly used an offensive and defensive skill. His two hands lifted like he wanted to push the heavens up. The two killing moves clashed heavily mid-air and sent out continuous ding-ding sounds. One figure was mid-air while the other was on the ground. As the moves collided, a chaotic surge of energy spread out to the nearby area and blew up a layer of dust which covered the stage. This continued for a breath's time before the two figures split with a pong. Tang! 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 One golden figure humphed as he retreated, while the other figure flipped in midair and landed softly on the ground. As the dust fell down again, the two figures could be seen. Zhao Feng was the same as usual. The only difference was that his clothes were ripped. As for Hou Yuan, tens of bloody marks appeared on his body. But from the looks of it, he wasn't seriously injured. But even then the spectators took in cold breaths. Who would have thought that Hou Yuan would be so ruffled? Maybe he will soon be the new top outer disciple. A clear voice sounded from nearby. Hearing this voice, many people's bodies stiffened, especially those substitute inner disciples such as Ji Fengyun and the Hong brothers, who looked at the man that spoke. From the crowd, a path was created and out came a youth. This youth's face was normal and he had a calm expression. But it was this face that made the other disciples respectful. Lin Fan, ranked first. He's even here? I heard that Lin Fan had beaten inner disciples of the Ascended Realm once. Lin Fan's appearance caused a shockwave. First amongst the outer disciples? Xiao Sun, Yun Mengxiang, Yang Qingshan and company looked at this rumored figure. Ever since they became disciples, they had heard people speak of Lin Fan more than once. Apparently, Lin Fan's talent was very average, only a half-spiritual body and he was barely able to enter the clan. But it was someone like him who reached the throne of the outer disciples through hard work. Lin Fan, do you mean Zhao Feng? He will become the top outer disciple. Even you think that you're not his match? A few of the substitute inner disciples couldn't help but ask. Firstly, his movement skill is the best amongst the outer disciples. Even I can't match him. Speaking up to hear, Lin Fan paused. A few substitute inner disciples nodded their heads in agreement. Secondly, Hou Yuan's defense is the best amongst the outer disciples and up to now, Zhao Feng hasn't been injured yet whereas Hou Yuan has, even though it's the slightest injury. Lin Fan said smiling. Yun Mengxiang inspected this top outer disciple. But no matter from which perspective she looked, it seemed he was normal in every way. Lin Fan analyzed. This means that Zhao Feng's offense, defense and speed have reached the top, so overall he's stronger than Hou Yuan. Hou Yuan's defense is the best amongst the outer disciples and if Zhao Feng is able to beat him, he shall become the new top outer disciple. The crowd felt that there was reason to this. After all, the substitute inner disciple ranked second had only fought Hou Yuan to a draw. At this moment, the situation on stage changed again. One line star finger. Partial wind stance. Zhao Feng suddenly merged the third stance of the 4 wind stances into his attacks. The enlightenment from the partial wind stance was much stronger than the tornado wind stance and now, Zhao Feng's body and cultivation were both much better than before. Ku. Sharp inner strength flashed through the air. Zhao Feng's finger was like a blade as it pierced through Hou Yuan's waist. How? Hou Yuan's body stiffened as he looked at the mark on his waist. He couldn't believe that his defense had been broken so easily by the opponent. Ku. Another thin finger mark flashed in front of him. As that instant, Hou Yuan was dazed as a bloody mark had appeared on his neck. The hairs on his body were all straight and cold sweat poured from his forehead. It seemed that he had almost walked into the doors of death. The strength of the second finger had obviously been conserved or else his throat would have been slit. Just like I thought. Zhao Feng's eyes twinkled as he stood in front of Hou Yuan. Without a doubt, Zhao Feng's most powerful single-target move right now was one-line star finger merged with partial wind stance. His burning wind stance had only been comprehended 20 to 30% so far. When the tornado stance merged with the mysterious wind palm, the attack lasted longer but it wasn't as effective as the partial wind stance against Hou Yuan. Partial wind aimed for sharpness and it was the perfect counter against body-strengthening techniques as its forte was piercing, which was suitable against opponents with strong defense. I lost. Only till a little while later did Hou Yuan realize that he had lost. But he had to confront this reality. Any more fighting had no point because Zhao Feng's one-line star finger merged with the partial wind stance could destroy the defense that he was so proud of easily. The challenger, Zhao Feng, wins. Deacon Chio's voice echoed and the outer disciples awoke from their dream. Hou Yuan had lost. Shock appeared on the outer disciples' faces. They felt like it had come too suddenly. Zhao Feng's last attack had easily broken through Hou Yuan's defense. The latter's speed and defense were both weaker than Zhao Feng's. What confidence did Hou Yuan have to continue fighting? The last exchange made Lin Fan's expression, who was ranked first amongst the outer disciples, change dramatically. What a terrifying attack! It could even threaten cultivators at the first sky of the ascended realm. Lin Fan thought in his heart as he inspected Zhao Feng on stage. For continuous wins against substitute inner disciples, this was something that hadn't happened in 100 years because according to the rules, one couldn't challenge people continuously. The outer disciples present, including the substitute inner disciples, looked at Zhao Feng with fear and respect. Zhao Feng can beat Hou Yuan, which means that Zhang Yuyan, who's ranked second, won't be his match either. With his strength, he even might be able to beat Lin Fan, who's ranked first. The crowd started to murmur in low voices. The top 20 outer disciples were also known as substitute inner disciples, and Lin Fan had the record of beating someone at the ascended realm. Zhang Yuyan and Hou Yuan didn't have much of a difference, but even Zhang Yuyan couldn't break Hou Yuan's defense easily. Zhao Feng had beaten Hou Yuan so easily at the end. It was certain that his strength was stronger than the current second place. "I'm not his match," a girl said deeply as she looked at Zhao Feng on the stage. She was Zhang Yuyan, who was ranked second. After watching the fight between Zhao Feng and Hou Yuan, Zhang Yuyan came up with this conclusion. In terms of speed and movement, Zhao Feng easily took first. In terms of offense, he was first as well since he was able to easily break through Hou Yuan's defense. Apart from that, Zhao Feng's body and strength was just below Hou Yuan's. With the combination of all this, Zhang Yuyan felt fear. She didn't have a strong defense like Hou Yuan, so if she faced Zhao Feng, she would lose even more horribly. But Zhang Yuyan and Hou Yuan both believed that there was one person who had the chance to defeat Zhao Feng, and that person was Lin Fan. "You're very strong. From now on, you shall be the new top outer disciple." Lin Fan smiled. Hearing this, the crowd was stunned. What was going on? Curiosity appeared. All of them knew clearly how strong Lin Fan was. Could it be that even Lin Fan wasn't as powerful as Zhao Feng? "Lin Fan, you haven't even fought him. So why did you give the title of top outer disciple to him?" Hou Yuan and Zhang Yuyan were both unwilling. They both knew that Lin Fan had even beaten someone of the ascended realm, so his strength should be even more terrifying. Hearing this, Zhao Feng glanced at Lin Fan with his left eye and immediately understood. "Ha ha ha, I'm not an outer disciple anymore. 2 days ago, I broke through to the ascended realm and I went to the heavenly core division to become an inner disciple." Lin Fan's laughed loudly as a surge of mental energy spread out from his body, pressuring the outer disciples. Everyone was shocked at this news. He had broke through to the ascended realm and become an inner disciple. This was the dream of many outer disciples, and Lin Fan had finally achieved this dream after fighting amongst the outer disciples for a long time. Everyone glanced understandingly at Lin Fan. Zhao Feng smiled as well. He felt that this Lin Fan he had just met was pretty nice. "Zhao Feng, I believe in a few years' time at most, we'll be meeting as inner disciples." Lin Fan gave Zhao Feng a high evaluation. "I hope so," Zhao Feng said humbly. Lin Fan didn't stay for long, and he left behind a group of envious outer disciples. After Lin Fan left, Zhao Feng once again became the center of attention. Now that Lin Fan's an inner disciple, doesn't that mean Zhao Feng's the new top outer disciple? The hearts of the crowd jumped with fear, respect, and worry, especially people such as Hou Yuan, the Hong brothers, and Ji Fengyun. Zhao Feng was now the top outer disciple. This was a result that the latter didn't expect as well. He had swept all the outer disciples, and he now stood at the top, beating 4 substitute inner disciples in a row, stunning Zhang Yuyan, who was ranked second, and Lin Fan had just reached the ascended realm. Tang! Zhao Feng landed in front of Nan Gongfan and Yang Qingshan. The two were both excited, and they didn't know whether to cry or laugh. Next to them, Princess Yun Mengxiang had complex emotions in her eyes as she inspected this youth, who surpassed her expectations once again. Somehow, the more she surveyed Zhao Feng, the more she felt that she couldn't see through him. Now that Lin Fan had left, the 20 substitute disciples had 1 spot missing, and there was going to be another battle for the remaining slot. According to the rules, Zhao Feng's rank would rise from 3rd to 2nd. But at this moment, Jiang Yuyan walked up to Deacon Qiu and said something. Deacon Qiu nodded his head and called Zhao Feng over. Jiang Yuyan said, "She isn't as strong as you. From now on, you shall be the top outer disciple and receive the best treatment." Deacon Qiu said, smiling. Zhao Feng looked curiously at Jiang Yuyan. "Zhao Feng, I admit I'm not your match right now, but it won't be long before I take back the rank that belongs to me." Jiang Yuyan spoke coldly, then turned around and left. Like this, Zhao Feng became the top outer disciple, and on the same day, he moved into another courtyard. The treatment of first place was far better than the others. For example, Zhao Feng got 10 substandard primal crystal stones each month, which was the same as an inner disciple. At the same time, he would also get other resources. "Zhao Feng, I heard that you can go to the clan and choose a middle-class mortal skill in 3 days unless someone challenges you in this period." Princess Yun Mengxiang came and told him. Middle-class mortal skill? Zhao Feng was excited and surprised when he heard this. Bei Mua's rippling technique was a middle-class mortal skill, and he had used it to dominate the 5 of them back then. Xiao Sun trained the Blazing Sun manual, and even though he hadn't reached a high level, the strength of it was already strong enough to reach the top 10. But middle-class mortal skills weren't open to outer disciples. Only when one became an inner disciple would they have the chance to learn a middle-class mortal skill. Even though the difference between a low-class and middle-class mortal skill seemed small, it was greater than the difference in one rank of the consolidated realm. If there aren't any accidents in the next 3 days, I should be able to get a middle-class mortal skill. Zhao Feng was full of expectation. Of course, he didn't forget about the 1,000-leaf pond. It contributed greatly to his goal of entering the ascended realm with his body. Therefore, he spent a lot of time comprehending the 7 array books that Old Man Zhang had given him. Because Zhao Feng had already taken 2 marrow cleansing pills, his attributes had risen greatly and his silver wall technique had progressed greatly. Maybe in 10 days, his silver wall technique would be able to reach the peak of the 9th rank. Apart from cultivation, Zhao Feng also visited Nangongfan and Yangqingshan. Everywhere where he went, the outer disciples would greet him. "Greetings, Brother Zhao." Even a few disciples who were older than him and had better talent would respectfully greet him. Now Zhao Feng was the top outer disciple, and he had crushed every outer disciple below his feet. This goal was achieved earlier than he expected. With Zhao Feng's protection, Yangqingshan and Nan Gongfan's days were relaxed. "Brother Zhao, no one dares to offend us now." Yangqingshan was so happy that his eyebrows stuck out. Nan Gongfan, on the other hand, was slightly worried. "Brother Zhao, your performance in the past has been too great. What if it catches the attention of Hai Yun Master? Being an outer disciple, no matter how strong I am, I still won't catch Hai Yun Master's attention. Only when I become an inner disciple will I enter his line of sight." Zhao Feng was confident. He was sure that Hai Yun Master didn't even know of his existence right now because he only had a low-tier spiritual body and people such as Quan Chun didn't look at him in the eye. No matter how strong a disciple at the consolidated realm was, they were still an ant. 3 days passed in the flash of an eye and no one dared to challenge Zhao Feng's position. Jiang Yuyan and Hou Yuan, ranked 2nd and 3rd respectively, both knew that they weren't Zhao Feng's match. So the latter immediately went to the Outer Hall Division and applied for consent to get his middle-class mortal skill. His application needed to be agreed by the Outer Hall Division to prove that there was no fraud involved. But Zhao Feng's strength was true to his name. The 4 continuous wins that day had shocked all the outer disciples, and a few deacons had even seen it. The most important part was that a vice head had agreed to his challenges and therefore, his application passed easily. This hollow building token can only be used once. With this token in our hand, you are able to enter the sacred ground of the clan, the hollow building. Deacon Qiu handed an azure bronze token over. The hollow building? Zhao Feng was slightly surprised because he had heard the rumors about the hollow building before. The hollow building isn't like the martial art libraries in the mortal world. It's a place of inheritance from the clan. According to the rules, a normal inner disciple can only enter the building once before reaching the 4th sky of the ascended realm. Deacon Qiu gave a long glance at Zhao Feng. Hearing this, Zhao Feng was filled with joy as he heard what Deacon Qiu meant. According to the rules, a normal inner disciple only had one chance to enter the hollow building. But right now Zhao Feng was only an outer disciple, not an inner disciple. This meant that he had the chance to enter the hollow building before some inner disciples. And when Zhao Feng became an inner disciple, he had the chance to enter the hollow building again. The advantage gained was unbelievable. This rule was set by the clan creator. The top outer disciple shall have the authority to enter once. Deacon Qiu had a faint smile. The clan creator. Zhao Feng thought in his heart that the clan creator had given disciples without great talent a trace of life. The clan looked most importantly at talent after all, and those that were outer disciples didn't have high talent. Before this, Sun Haoyuan had a changeable body and Lu Yuer had a high-tier spiritual body. But the two had been accepted as inner disciples straight away. After saying goodbye to Deacon, Zhao Feng headed to the hollow building with his token. The hollow building was a sacred ground of the clan, and inner disciples as well as deacons weren't allowed to enter easily. From a few miles away, Zhao Feng already saw a half-transparent tower near the edge of the cliff. Zhao Feng's left eye scanned it, but it couldn't see what materials made up the building. But one thing was certain, the material used was expensive. 2 lines of guards stood at the entrance. Each of them had at least reached the 3rd sky of the Ascended Realm. Their cultivations were all higher than Lord Guanjuan. This is an important place of the clan. Leave now, a guard exclaimed as he sent out his mental energy, which made Zhao Feng find it hard to breathe. The other guards were full of disdain as well. They had seen that Zhao Feng's clothes were of an outer disciples, and the 9th rank of the consolidated realm was an ant in their eyes. Shua! Zhao Feng took out the hollow building token, and the expression of the guard who had just shouted out changed. Please! The group of guards sent Zhao Feng into the building with their eyes. It's hard to believe that that kid is the top outer disciple. The guards were all surprised. Entering the hollow building, Zhao Feng had the feeling of that he had stepped into another dimension because the inside was full of color. He had been learning arrays right now, and he could feel the existence of them in the hollow building. The power of arrays had no shape nor color, but they had been protecting this place for thousands of years. Before he could open his left eye to inspect the arrays of the building, an old voice sounded in his mind. Hand over your token. Qiu! Zhao Feng threw his token over. Bronze grade token. You can choose a middle-class mortal skill. As the voice disappeared, a staircase appeared in front of Zhao Feng, which he stepped onto. The world at the top of the staircase was full of mist, and countless jade slips floated in it. Every jade slip had a few pictures and words on it with the description, introduction, and requirements of the skill. Dragon Returning Palm. Dominant King Fists. No Wind Manual. Scorching Flame Sword. Zhao Feng scanned through the hundreds and thousands of skills, and he copied the descriptions into his mind. Soon, Zhao Feng had a bit of understanding of all of the skills. Most of them could be cultivated to the 4th sky of the Ascended Realm or higher, and the better ones could reach the 5th sky. Low-class mortal skills usually trained one to the Ascended Realm, and middle-class mortal skills could be trained one to the 4th sky of the Ascended Realm or higher. High-class mortal skills could be cultivated to the 7th sky of the Ascended Realm and a small number to the True Spirit Realm. Peak-class mortal skills could definitely be trained to the True Spirit Realm, and it was these skills that were the true treasures of the clan. As for the spiritual class skills, these were the killing moves of the clan, and no one under the rank of Elder had the right to train them. And those under the True Spirit Realm would find it hard to comprehend. You must find a skill in half an hour, and all you need to do is grab a jade slip and put your consciousness into it to get the skill. The person with the old voice seemed to realize that Zhao Feng didn't really understand the rules of the hollow building. Understood. Zhao Feng felt weird that the voice would always appear in his head, because in the mortal world when one spoke from long distances, it would sound next to their ears. But thinking that this was a clan, everything could be explained. Soon, Zhao Feng scanned through all the skills, and he remembered which ones he needed. All the credit went to his left eye. Other disciples would find it almost impossible to finish reading all of the slips in such a short amount of time. After reading it, Zhao Feng soon excluded the skills that had restrictions in cultivation, like the ones that needed the cultivator to reach the Ascended Realm to train. He then picked out the skills which had greater power and were more profound. This way, he had 100 to 200 skills, suitable elite skills. These elite skills were all middle-class mortal skills, but they were of the better rank. Unfortunately, Zhao Feng could only choose one. After thinking for a long time, Zhao Feng decided to choose an offensive skill. Dragon Returning Palm. The palm becomes a dragon which can crush mountains. And when trained to the high level, a dragon shadow shall follow which will create fear in the opponent. Requires a dense and strong inner strength. 7 Deadly Fingers. Split into 7 levels and it is a powerful single target attack. Requires perfect control. Scorching Flame Sword. Sword like fire. When it reaches the high level, each swing of the sword can cause a scorching flame that will vanquish all those under the 4th sky of the ascended realm. Zhao Feng looked at the offensive skills which had power that exceeded the limits of nature. For example, that scorching flame sword could create fire from nothing. Was this power that a human could withstand? Of course, Zhao Feng didn't consider using other weapons because his left eye was more suitable for archery. Relying on weapons wasn't a good idea because what if the weapon broke? His strength would decrease massively. Furthermore, once one broke through to the ascended realm, long-distance attacks were normal and the advantage of close combat weapons wasn't great. Looking at the skills for a while, an unique skill appeared in Zhao Feng's mind. Lightning Wind Palm. Contains the power of lightning and wind, using the wind to cause lightning. When trained to the peak level, one can summon lightning. But maybe because it's only a partial skill, almost no one has trained it to the peak level. Attention. This skill contains a lot of danger and there's records of a cultivator who trained the skill being killed by lightning. Learn carefully. The last warning seemed to be just added on because the marks were still fresh. Lightning Wind Palm, it's going to be you. Zhao Feng just chose this skill, and it was one of the most dangerous ones. He had trained in the Star Finger before and Zhao Feng understood that the more dangerous it was to cultivate, the more terrifying its power was. Lightning Wind Palm was the same and the disciples of the Broken Moon clan wouldn't dare to train it. Furthermore, no one wanted to waste this precious chance to gamble on an unknown skill. But Zhao Feng dared to. Firstly, he had one more chance to enter the hollow building. Secondly, because no one dared to train this skill, it meant that the power of it was terrifying. Zhao Feng had seen the history of the clan and those legendary figures had always trained those skills that no one else could and finally reached the peak of the tower. If Zhao Feng chose a skill that others could train easily as well, then what was the difference between him and them? Are you sure that you're going to choose Lightning Wind Palm? I'm warning you. This skill is hard to learn and even more dangerous than some high-class mortal skills. The ancient voice sounded. Yes. Zhao Feng responded in a strong tone. Such tone made the old voice pause. This was the first time that he had seen someone choose such a dangerous skill with such confidence. These people could only be described as arrogant. Haha, there's usually 2 results when one trains the Lightning Wind Palm. The first result is that one wasn't able to reach the peak level and while training, their tendons broke or the lower half of their body becomes useless. The second result is that a prodigy with high comprehension learns it, gets struck by lightning and dies. It's the latter which is regretful. The ancient voice laughed lightly and he didn't speak anymore. 2 results. The first was to be unable to reach the peak level, whereas the second was to be struck by lightning and die. If it was anyone else, they would feel fear or at least worry. But Zhao Feng didn't listen to the old voice and he merged his consciousness with the jade slip. Wang. A light appeared from the slip which pulled Zhao Feng's consciousness into a world full of wind and lightning. A scenery of a figure appeared, practicing a palm skill in the world of wind and lightning. The power of the skill became greater and greater before it finally merged with the lightning and crushed a 50,000-kilogram mountain. What terrifying power! Zhao Feng instinctively copied this scene into his mind with his left eye. Immediately after, the contents of the skill went into Zhao Feng's mind bit by bit. The jade slip contained contents which could only be viewed once. But because Zhao Feng had copied the entire scene into his left eye, he could comprehend it later on. Under the power of arrays, the contents of the Lightning Wind Palm slowly merged into Zhao Feng's mind and the latter immediately memorized it. He then started to inspect the jade slips as well as the mist with his left eye. The misty area that he was in was enveloped by a massive array that had lasted for 1,000 years, and Zhao Feng was thinking whether or not this array could be broken or were there any flaws. He then opened his left eye and an azure light appeared on his eyeball as he surveyed the nearby area. Under his enhanced vision mode, picture and lines appeared which constructed an array. Copy. Zhao Feng copied the structure of the array into his left eye. I'll study this when I get back, Zhao Feng thought as the light from the jade slip in front of him faded. At the same time, the other jade slips in the area all lost their glow. Like this, Zhao Feng took the contents of the lightning wind palm as well as the structure of the array out of the hollow building. Before he left, he heard the old voices warning, "The skills of the hollow building shall not be spread or else the person's cultivation shall be crippled. Remember this, comma." Zhao Feng didn't bother listening to this voice and left the hollow building. Right after he left, a laughter containing anger sounded from within the building. "What an arrogant brat! How dare he ignore me?" Ever since Zhao Feng entered the hollow building, Zhao Feng didn't really listen to the voice and he acted on what he thought was right. So he didn't put the warnings given by the voice to heart. From Zhao Feng's point of view, one just had to obey the rules of the voice. His thought was correct, but he didn't know that the owner of the voice was a big figure in the clan. Even inner disciples were respectful of him. First elder. It's only an idiotic outer disciple. There's no point wasting time with him. An old man inside the building laughed. This person was the elder guarding the hollow building. But the first elder had come today to do a routine check. He saw Zhao Feng take a highly dangerous skill. So he warned him in goodwill. But the latter had ignored him instead. Huh? Outer disciple? If I remember correctly, only the top outer disciple has the right to enter. First elder was slightly surprised. The clan creator had created this rule far back and it had continued to this day, and the first elder knew the purpose of it. The more talented one was, the further they went in the path of cultivation. Therefore the clan placed great importance in talent. But talent wasn't the only thing that made one go far. So the creator made this rule to help those without great talent. After returning to his courtyard, Zhao Feng started to comprehend the lightning wind palm in his head. Lightning wind palm was an offense skill, which was suitable even at the sixth sky of the ascended realm. From this point alone, one could tell it was much better than the other middle-class mortal skills. Zhao Feng had paid special attention to its description, which contained the words, ancient partial skill. The skills from long ago had differences with the current ones, and the old voice had told him that this skill was even harder to learn than some high-class mortal skills. So from Zhao Feng's analysis, the rank of the skill shouldn't be as simple as a middle-class mortal skill. Closing his eyes, Zhao Feng started to comprehend the scenery of the small figure in the world of lightning and wind who was able to summon lightning. Terrifying. Zhao Feng saw the scene and he couldn't help but sigh. The lightning wind palm was split into 6 levels. The first level, learner comprehending the power of wind. The second level, beginner, the lightning and wind aura started to form. The third level, low level, the palm shall contain the sound of lightning and one would find it hard to find a match against those under the fourth sky of the ascended realm. The fourth level, high level, the ability to numb the opponent, so that their actions will be slowed down. The fifth level, peak level, using the wind to summon lightning, the power increases dramatically. The sixth level, max level, when there's a storm, one had a certain chance to summon the 9-cloud lightning. Once one succeeded, anyone under the true spirit realm shall be destroyed and existences at the true spirit realm would be wary. The sixth level should be used when one was at the sixth sky of the ascended realm, but there was a chance to summon the 9 clouds lightning which would make the person's strength increase by 10 times. The sixth level is just way too crazy. Once one succeeds in summoning the 9 clouds lightning, even beings of the true spirit realm have to be wary. Zhao Feng's heart trembled. He could confirm that this skill wasn't a middle-class mortal skill after coming into contact with it. Obviously, even though the 6th level was insane and one's strength would increase by 10 times, the danger involved was a lot as well. The slightest mistake would turn the user into dust. The person who had created this skill was insane and those that trained it were crazy as well. But because Zhao Feng had chosen it, he wouldn't regret doing so. Instead, he would focus and try comprehend it. The lightning wind palm used wind to cause lightning, so wind was the base of this skill. As for this, Zhao Feng had a good foundation because he had comprehended the first 3 stances of the 4 wind stances, which all contained the will and intent of wind. As for the last stance, burning wind stance, one created fire by using the wind, which made the damage rise by an entire new level. With the 4 wind stances as a base, Zhao Feng succeeded in learning it and he started to work on the 2nd level. It looks like my decision was correct. This skill is suitable for me. Zhao Feng didn't think that he would be this successful. According to the old voice, lightning wind palm was harder to learn than some high-class mortal skills. And when someone tried to learn the 1st level, they needed at least 1 to 2 months, sometimes even years. But with the 4 wind stances as foundation, Zhao Feng had completed it easily. But there was resistance at the 2nd level. The 2nd level contained the aura of wind and lightning. Zhao Feng had a deep enlightenment of wind, but he had no basis for lightning. He closed his eyes and the scene of the world of lightning and wind appeared in his mind. With this picture in his head, Zhao Feng could easily reach the 2nd level and around 2 days later, he had almost fully learnt the 2nd level. But the 3rd level wasn't going to be comprehended in any time soon. He put the remaining time all on the 7 array books that Old Man Zhang had given him, and of the 7, there was only 1 left. This last book was the hardest of them all, and only with the enlightenment gained from the illusion fish picture was he able to comprehend it, and on this day, Zhao Feng finally learnt the 7 books. And it was at this time that he realized that today was the deadline. So close! Zhao Feng let out a long breath. Because he had learnt and spent some of his time on the lightning wind palm, he almost forgot the deal with Old Man Zhang. His current and most important goal right now was to enter the Ascended Realm with his body. Zhao Feng ran to the clan mission division and met Vice Head Zhang. "You've learnt all 7 array books?" Vice Head Zhang said, full of smiles. "Yes." Zhao Feng puffed out. Old Man Zhang then asked 15 questions. 1 hard and 1 easy question for each book, and to answer the last question, one must merge all the contents of the 7 books. Only with his left eye continuously thinking was Zhao Feng able to answer it. After Zhao Feng gave his answer, Old Man Zhang sighed and stared at Zhao Feng like he was a monster. "Are you sure you haven't learnt anything about arrays before?" Old Man Zhang said, defeated. "Does the illusion fish picture count?" Zhao Feng gave a heh. Old Man Guan had asked similar questions before. Vice Head Zhang's cheeks twitched slightly. Back then, he was a genius who could remember everything he saw as well, and he had a bit of fame within the 13 countries. But compared to Zhao Feng's talent, he thought he was just dog shit. "You've learnt the basis of arrays. From today onwards, you will go and help protect and give maintenance to the arrays in the clan. This obviously includes the energy-gathering array in the 1,000-leaf pond," Old Man Zhang said expressionlessly. On the same day, Zhao Feng started to come into contact with arrays. The Broken Moon clan he was at had many arrays that enveloped the whole mountain, and as time passed, the power of these arrays weakened or flaws would appear, so they needed maintenance and fixing. Zhao Feng followed Old Man Zhang or some of members of the clan mission division to travel to where the arrays were. The mist from that day at the test was created by an array, and the reason why the floating crest palace floats is also because of arrays as well. Zhao Feng started to understand. In the world of clans, there were many places that needed the help of pill, arrays, and mechanism masters. On this day, Zhao Feng received an order from Vice Head Zhang to go to the 1,000-leaf pond. Being a member of the clan mission division and Old Man Zhang's helper, Zhao Feng came to check if there was anything wrong with the energy-gathering array. Thinking about how his silver wall technique had started to approach the peak 9th level, Zhao Feng couldn't help but be excited. His left eye became sharp and a thin azure glow appeared on it, which allowed him to see the crystal green water. Zhao Feng swallowed, but he didn't make any rash moves. Firstly, he was to see if the energy-gathering array really had any problems or not. This energy-gathering array was created by several cultivators of the true spirit realm and the help of array masters, but Zhao Feng had also recorded the structure of the array, and with his enhanced vision, he alone could finish the work of several others. Over the past few days, Zhao Feng had found many flaws in the arrays of the clan. He had contributed a lot to the clan mission division and received praise from Vice Head Zhang. There's 2 flaws as well as 13 weak points. Zhao Feng nodded his head and he recorded the numbers down so he could report it back to Old Man Zhang. In just the time it took a cup of tea to be made, Zhao Feng had already completed his task, and after that, Zhao Feng licked his lips and took out his token to open the array and enter. But thinking about it, if he entered the 1,000-leaf pond with his token, the sound created would be a bit big and he was only an outer disciple who didn't have right to enter. Zhao Feng decided to be a bit more low-key and he entered the 1,000-leaf pond through one of the flaws. Woo! Zhao Feng soaked his body in the water, and he felt a weird cold power spread throughout his body which came from the water. He closed his eyes and let his whole body touch the water. Pong! Pong! Zhao Feng felt the thumping appear in his left eye again, and the rate of which he absorbed energy increased. The effect isn't as strong as the marrow cleansing pill, but it lasts longer. Zhao Feng felt his body become stronger and stronger as time passed. Unknowingly, he had almost fell asleep in the pond and had entered a fake death situation similar to when he practiced the withering wood technique. Under this situation, his body relaxed like it had never before, which made the rate at which he absorbed the energy fast. Broken Moon Clan. In the misty mountains, there was a clear azure building with plants of every kind around it. Go, go! Quan Chen's expression was dim, and he sent the group of birds nearby flying with a wave of his hands. His mood wasn't very good. Ever since Zhao Feng became the top outer disciple, his plan to suppress the disciples of Lord Guanjuan became troublesome. In terms of strength, Zhao Feng had dominated all the outer disciples, and in terms of background, Zhao Feng had 2 vice heads. He couldn't even finish off a few new disciples. This made him lose face amongst the other disciples. His first and second brother had made more than one joke about it. Stepping on the broken rocks, Quan Chen's regained his composure and became respectful as he entered the azure building. Brother Quan, Elder has come out of secluded meditation, and he is admiring the flowers inside. A guard said in front of the garden. Quan Chen nodded his head. Then he took a deep breath and walked inside to the garden. Hundreds of flowers were blooming in the hundreds, and between the flowers stood a handsome man that seemed to be 20 to 30 years old. Who would have thought that this man would be the youngest elder of the Broken Moon Clan Hai Yun Master? Those that reached the true spirit realm could live for 200 to 300 years. Hai Yun Master was the same age as Lord Guanjuan, but he had the features of a youth. Hai Yun Master wore a robe of pure white and he stood with his hands behind his back. Quan Chin knew that his teacher had obsessive-compulsive disorder, so he carefully walked up to him and stood 1 yard away. Master, I need to report to you about Su Ran's disciples, Quan Chen said respectfully. Su Ran? Do you think you really need to report to me about such a little problem? Hai Yun Master's voice was soft, but it was full of coldness, like he was looking down at an ant. Quan Chan immediately apologized. Disciple here is useless and can't even take care of a few outer disciples. After saying that, he didn't say anything more, because he knew that Master didn't even put the disciples of Lord Guanjuan into his eyes. If he kept on speaking, it would only cause his displeasure. Speak. Hai Yun Master's eyebrows raised slightly. Of the 3 disciples, Yang Qingshan has a middle-tier spiritual body and Nan Gongfan is between a low-tier and middle-tier spiritual body. There's still a Zhao Feng who had a low-tier spiritual body, but he is extremely abnormal. Quan Chun summarized the disciples and then spoke about Zhao Feng, the one that needed attention. At the beginning, Hai Yun Master didn't move nor speak. But as Quan Chan talked about how Zhao Feng was placed of great importance by 2 vice heads, who excelled in pill refining and array creation, his expression changed slightly. As for Zhao Feng's top outer disciple identity, Hai Yun Master didn't really care. After listening to everything, Hai Yun Master have a smile. Ha ha ha. It's a good thing for the Broken Moon Clan if Zhao Feng has great talent in array and pill making. Ah. Quan Chen couldn't help but be dazed. But thinking about it, those who excelled in arrays and pill making usually didn't have much battle power. Especially for one like Zhao Feng with just a low-tier spiritual body, it was hard for him to walk far. You don't need to worry about this, your master. I have my own plans. The every 5-year floating crest trial shall open in a few months' time. You missed the chance last time, so you must grip this chance this time, Hai Yun Master said. Understood. Quan Chen's heart skipped a beat. The Floating Crest trial could change one's destiny. The trial had something to do with the Floating Crest Palace, and all those who passed the trial got great rewards. Compared with the Floating Crest Tria, the disciples of Lord Guanjuan were nothing. Filled with battle intent as he left the garden, Quan Chun could faintly hear his master's voice. Get bay moi, bay moi. Expressions of helplessness and jealousy appeared on Quan Chen's face. Ever since Bei Moi had become master's disciple, the latter had put way more of his energy and resources on Bei Moi while the other disciples lost favor. Broken Moon Clan, Thousand Leaf Pond. Zhao Feng relaxed himself and sank into the pond. Even his breathing had almost stopped. His left eye gave the occasional thump, and it sent out a weird bloodline power which coursed throughout his body. Over the past few days, Zhao Feng's silver wall technique had reached the peak 9th level, because he had eaten a few marrow-cleansing pills, which greatly increased his attributes. At this moment, he had reached the same level of body strengthening as Ho Yuan. But Zhao Feng's goal was not limited to this. In the Thousand-Leaf Pond, his bones, blood and skin all went through a subtle change, and the inner strength in his dantian reached a higher quality. It looks like the Thousand-Leaf Pond also helps inner strength and true force as well, Zhao Feng thought. Inner strength was the energy created by those at the consolidated realm, whereas true force was made by those at the ascended realm, and its power was 10 times stronger than inner strength. As long as Zhao Feng reached the 10th level of the silver wall technique, he could create silver air true force. Time flew by quickly. A whole day had passed, and Zhao Feng's body attributes had increased so much that it exceeded the effects from a marrow-cleansing pill. Even though the effect of the marrow-cleansing pill was strong, it didn't last as long, nor was it as mysterious as the water. Zhao Feng realized at night that the energy-gathering array seemed to change under the moonlight, and a silver layer appeared in the water. The element of the mysterious power in the water started to change as well. This energy-gathering array is quite mysterious. When I become an inner disciple, I can create a much simpler one, Zhao Feng thought. Obviously, the energy-gathering array was only the support. The Thousand-Leaf Pond was created by nature, and it had existed thousands of years. The power in the Thousand-Leaf Pond changed slightly, but it had a better effect for the body, and Zhao Feng maintained his fake death position. He estimated that he just needed to soak in the pond a few more times, and his silver wall technique would reach the 10th level. But just at this moment, a few sounds appeared even though they were quiet. Tsang. 2 figures entered through the flaws of the Thousand-Leaf Pond, and the flaw they just used was the one Zhao Feng had just used. Sister Yuan, will we be found out? One of them was a girl who had a clear, crispy voice. Haha. Someone in the clan mission division told me about this flaw, and that the Thousand-Leaf Pond wasn't open today. The other girl laughed lightly. The girl that just spoke was a bit older, maybe 20 years old, and she had a beautiful figure. The girl next to her was slightly younger. She had crystal eyes, and her figure was like a carving. The 2 beauties walked into the Thousand-Leaf Pond and surveyed the area. The Thousand-Leaf Pond was empty and no sign of anyone present. See? I told you there's no one here, Sister Yuan said confidently. The shy girl nodded, but she was still slightly against doing something like this. Confirming that there was no one here, the 2 took off their clothes, revealing their perfect bodies, and they started to wash themselves in the water. At the same time, Zhao Feng, who was tens of yards away, felt the water rippling. Because the pond was protected by the array, the water should be calm and unmoving. But at this time the water rippled, meaning that there was intruders. Zhao Feng recovered from his hibernation, and he looked in the direction of the ripples with his left eye. Even though they were separated by tens of yards, his left eye could still see clearly. But the next scene made his face red and sped his heart beat up. He was, after all, only a 14 to 15-year-old youth, and he hadn't experienced everything. Wah! Zhao Feng was so distracted that he choked on the water and surfaced. Who's there? Sister Yuan exclaimed, and she sent a wave tens of meters high, blocking his view. Tsang. The 2 figures immediately returned to the shore under the cover of the wave, and when the wave fell down, Zhao Feng saw 2 girls who had the uniform of inner disciples. One was tall and pretty while the other was shy. No matter where they were put, The figures of the two were top tier and not any weaker than the most beautiful women of Sun Feather City. Which bastard dares to do such shameless acts? Sister Yuan barely managed to cover herself up with her clothes as she coldly looked at Zhao Feng. Huang. A surge of mental energy crushed towards Zhao Feng like a mountain. Her cultivation was even stronger than Quan Chen, who was at the third sky of the ascended realm. The other beauty was full of anger and shyness as she hid behind Sister Yuan. Don't misunderstand. I was just here cultivating, Zhao Feng said urgently with a red face. This situation made him dumbfounded. Sister Yuan was also surprised. The youth in front of her seemed only 14 to 15 years old, and he didn't seem like a shameless bastard. Turn around and close your eyes, Sister Yuan coldly ordered. Under the powerful mental energy, Zhao Feng soon calmed down and turned around and closed his eyes like he was ordered to. He knew that he had no strength to resist at all. Turning around, he heard the sound of the two putting on the clothes. Turn around. Sister Yuan stood next to the pond, but the coldness in her voice hadn't faded away. Zhao Feng turned around expressionlessly, and his heart still fluttered when he saw the faces of the two beauties. Sister Yuan stood in front, while the other girl hid behind her and only showed half her face. Humph! Such a young age and already peeking at girls taking baths. If you don't give an explanation today, I'll punish you. Sister Yuan's face was cold as she decided to scare the youth in front of her. But she realized that the youth was staring at her with a dazed face. She became even angrier. How could someone at such a young age be so lustful? However, she soon realized that Zhao Feng wasn't looking at her, but the person behind her. It's you, Zhao Feng exclaimed as he looked at the shy girl behind Sister Yuan. It's you, Zhao Feng exclaimed as he stared at the girl behind Sister Yuan with excitement. He was dazed, and it seemed like the partner in his dreams had finally appeared. His expression in Sister Yuan's eyes was lust, and she became even angrier. So this brat wasn't looking at me, but the person behind me. At this moment, a wave appeared in Zhao Feng's heart. The girl behind Sister Yuan was so familiar. She had appeared in his mind hundreds and thousands of times because he wanted to comprehend the mysterious wind palm. She was the shy girl at the canyon that day. The happiness couldn't be described after seeing someone in reality that had appeared in his mind for thousands of times. Even Zhao Feng had lost his composure. Sister Ran? Do you know him? Sister Yuan looked at the girl behind her with suspicion and excitement. Could Sister Ran have a relationship with a guy? Being her best friend. How could she be left out? I don't know him. Sister Ran's face was red as she inspected Zhao Feng, but she shook her head. Seeing her innocent look, Sister Yuan was certain that Sister Ran didn't know Zhao Feng because she knew that Sister Ran wouldn't lie to her. Furthermore, with Zhao Feng's cultivation, he should only be an outer disciple and he wouldn't have any connections with inner disciples. Brat, don't think too much. You must be one of her followers, but you must be punished for committing such a shameful act. Sister Yuan started to say righteously, but seeing Zhao Feng's eyes dim down, she started to regret being so angry. Sister Yuan thought that Zhao Feng was a playful boy because he was so young. If it was anyone else, they would have probably been dead by now. Zhao Feng regained his composure and he knew that they didn't know him, but he still couldn't hold the excitement in his heart. Back then, the three people had stunned him and now he had met the girl again. May I ask for your name? Zhao Feng still couldn't help but want to know her name. Sister Yuan's temper went up even more. She suddenly realized that the youth in front of her became calm like his age had suddenly increased because such calmness wasn't someone of this age had. Sister Ran's face went red as she was about to reply, but she was stopped by Sister Yuan. Sister Ran, this kid doesn't have anything good in his mind. This can be seen by his shameless act just then. Sister Yuan pulled Sister Ran over to the side and coldly faced Zhao Feng. Because Zhao Feng had ignored her, she decided to punish him. But before she could say anything, Zhao Feng said coldly, Sister, I believe that the Thousand-Leaf Pond isn't open today, so how did you come in? If you don't give me a valid explanation, I shall report this to the clan. Hearing this, the expression of the two girls changed, especially Sister Ran, who immediately panicked. The Thousand-Leaf Pond was a sacred ground of the clan, and without approval, even inner disciples weren't allowed to enter. Then how did you enter? Sister Yuan's attitude was still hard. Shua. Zhao Feng withdrew a token and looked sharply at Sister Yuan. Clan mission token. Sister Yuan finally panicked under the youth's gaze. She realized that the youth in front of her had a special identity, or else he wouldn't have the clan mission token to enter the Thousand-Leaf Pond. I'm under orders from Vice Head Zhang to come check the weak points and flaws of the arrays. But there were two people who had sneaked in. Do you know your sin? Up to the end, Zhao Feng was shouting. His left eye activated and became sharp. It was like he could see the opponent's secrets. The two girls looked at each other guiltily. Zhao Feng had a reason to enter the Thousand-Leaf Pond, and they had entered the pond through the flaws of the array. In the blink of an eye, Zhao Feng had become the questioner from being questioning. All he needed to do was activate the array, and the nearby clan mission division members would arrive. Humph. Then how about you peeking at us? How could Sister Yuan admit defeat? Thinking about her fame in the inner disciples, she couldn't lose to an outer disciple. Peeking? Who came first? Zhao Feng laughed. At this moment, he didn't seem like a pure, innocent youth anymore. You? Sister Yuan was speechless. Indeed, Zhao Feng had arrived before them, and the two had come in secret. Brother Zhao, it's our fault. Please don't. Sister Rant's eyes were red as she begged. Seeing her innocent and sad look, Zhao Feng obviously wouldn't tell on them. At this moment, Sister Yuan was also silent, like she knew the opponent had the ability to threaten her. Oh well, I won't go further because of Sister Ran. Zhao Feng took back his token. An expression of, just like I expected, appeared on Sister Yuan's face. Kid, an outer disciple like you won't be able to catch Sister Ran. Sister Ran's face was as red as blood as she lowered her head and sneakily glanced at Zhao Feng from the corner of her eye. But she didn't say anything. You guys should go. If you're found by deacons or other members of the clan mission division, I can't save you. Zhao Feng said expressionlessly as he lowered his body back into the Thousand-Leaf Pond. Seeing his reaction, Sister Yuan was slightly disappointed. But thinking about it, she couldn't help but feel sorry for Zhao Feng. He was only a lowly outer disciple, and he might not become an inner disciple in his whole life. Because Sister Ran hadn't seen him before, it meant that this youth's love was one-sided. Sister Yuan sighed and pulled Sister Ran and walked out of the array. Sending the two away with his eyes, Zhao Feng let out a long breath and wiped his cold sweat. With Sister Yuan's strength, she could easily teach him a lesson. Even Lord Guanjuan wouldn't be able to exchange one move with her. As the two exited the array, a shy, quiet voice sounded. My name is Ran Xiaoyuan. Thank you. Zhao Feng paused and saw a shy face smile near him before it couldn't avoid his gaze. Ran Xiaoyuan? It's a nice name, but Zhao Feng murmured. It should be me thanking you instead. The mysterious wind palm had given a lot of help, and through his practices, he had fully remembered how the girl looked, and he had wanted to meet and thank her many times. Now that he had met Ran Xiaoyuan, Zhao Feng felt like he owed her a favor. After the two left, Zhao Feng once again sank into the Thousand-Leaf Pond, and he began to silently cultivate the silver wall technique and absorb the mysterious energy in the water. Only till late night did Zhao Feng return to the clan mission division and hand back his report of where parts of the array were weak. Returning back to his courtyard, Zhao Feng started to cultivate once again. On the second morning, Zhao Feng found that his silver wall technique was half a step away from the 10th level of the silver wall technique. His body was at the half-step ascended realm, and just with his muscles alone, he could beat normal cultivators at the half-step ascended realms. I should be able to challenge some at the first sky of the ascended realm. Zhao Feng cracked a smile. But the 10th level, even though it was only half a step away, it was still hard to reach. However, Zhao Feng wasn't in any rush. From his point of view, he could become an inner disciple in half a month if he wanted to, but he first wanted to gather a bit more strength. If I become an inner disciple, the feud between Quan Chun and I will be exposed, and I will also enter Hai Yun Master's line of sight. Zhao Feng thought. Therefore, he should gather more strength with the advantage he had now. Calculating the time, Zhao Feng realized that the 10 days he was supposed to stay at the clan mission division had finished. Because of the argument between Old Man Zhang and Old Man Guan, Zhao Feng stayed at the Grasswood Division and Clan Mission Division 10 days respectively. Zhao Feng had done this now, but both Old Man Zhang and Old Man Guan didn't come find him for the next few days. Zhao Feng started to train Silver Wall Technique and Lightning Wind Palm, and he sneaked to the Thousand Leaf Pond when he had extra time. But not many days had passed before Zhao Feng received challenges from Xiao Sun and Jiang Yuyan. One only had one chance to challenge a substitute inner disciple every 6 months. But for those disciples who had already reached the top 20, there was no limit. Everyone knew that the top outer disciples had a great benefit, and Xiao Sun was extremely expectant of being able to enter the hollow building before he became an inner disciple. In reality, with his high-tier spiritual body and relationship between the Xiao family and the clan, Xiao Sun was completely able to be like Lu Yuer and Sun Yuanhao and become an inner disciple straight away. The reason that he didn't become one was due to one point: becoming the top outer disciple, and now Xiao Sun's cultivation had reached the peak half-step ascended realm. The slightest mistake would cause him to break through to the ascended realm. 3 days later, Zhao Feng fought Xiao Sun and Jiang Yuyan. Xiao Sun was now ranked 4th, and his Blazing Sun manual had improved greatly. He was looking forward to battling Zhao Feng, but the result was the same. Zhao Feng didn't even use his Lightning Wind Palm. With Silver Wall Technique, Starfinger, and the 4 wind stances alone, Xiao Sun was easily defeated. Jiang Yuyan wasn't any better. She managed to exchange tens of blows before losing to Zhao Feng. His strength now isn't any weaker than Lin Fan, when the latter was the top outer disciple. Jiang Yuyan gave up. Zhao Feng's position as top outer disciple couldn't be moved. After beating Jiang Yuyan and Xiao Sun, Zhao Feng had a feeling of loneliness. At this moment in time, he felt that his Silver Wall Technique was incredibly close to the 10th level, and he needed 6 to 15 days at most before it would break through. Inside the dimension of his left eye, the azure glow had extended to 9'9", and it seemed to reach a limit. Zhao Feng didn't know what would happen when the light surpassed 9'9". Before Zhao Feng got to even rest for half a day, 2 guests came. Vice Head Guan, Vice Head Zhang. Why are the both of you here? Zhao Feng was surprised. 2 vice heads had come at the same time to his small courtyard. He immediately ushered the 2 in and thought whether or not the 2 had settled it out. But out of expectations, the 2 were both quiet, and they didn't even argue at all. All they did was stare at Zhao Feng and sigh. What's happened? Zhao Feng felt the situation was weird. Both Old Man Zhang and Old Man Guan should have fought over his talent. Zhao Feng, we've come to a decision regarding you taking a master, Vice Head Guan said solemnly. They came to a decision? Zhao Feng cried out in his heart. Even though he was interested in both pill-making and arrays, that wasn't the path he wanted to walk. Old Man Zhang coughed. It's like this. Through our testing, we've decided that your talent is too good to be our disciples. Ah. Zhao Feng looked in disbelief at the 2. Vice Head Zhang and Vice Head Guan looked at each other and smiled as if they had done a huge thing. Zhao Feng, you might be surprised, but this is the truth. You are the best pill-refining genius I have ever seen, and with your abilities, you would only need 1 to 2 years to learn everything I have to give you. Old Man Guan sighed and shook his head helplessly. That's right. We're not good enough to be your teacher. We can recommend you to the best array master Gong Chenkingshan of the Sky-Rich country. Only if you're able to be his disciple will your talent be fully used. Old Man Zhang said helplessly and bitterly. Vice Head Guan also recommended a pill master from the Metal Blood country. The 2 hadn't reached the true master level, they were just proficient in arrays and pills. Zhao Feng knew that both Sky-Rich country and the Metal Blood country were 10 times better than the Cloud country, and the clans in their country were far stronger than the Broken Moon clan. Teachers, thank you for your good intentions, but I don't want to walk down the path of arrays or pills. Zhao Feng took in a deep breath and bowed deeply to the 2 vice heads. At this moment, he finally spoke his true thoughts. You're calling us teacher? Old Man Guan was excited while Old Man Zhang was also smug. Even though Zhao Feng didn't formally take them as masters, the teacher he called still showed his gratitude and thanks. No matter how high Zhao Feng reached or who he took in as his master, he would still call the two teacher. From the two vice heads' point of view, even if Zhao Feng didn't work hard, he would still become a pill master or a ray master or maybe even both. So Zhao Feng calling teacher satisfied them. After this, Zhao Feng faced the two's persuasion. They tried to get Zhao Feng to walk on the correct path and told him he could study both if he wanted. But Zhao Feng had rejected them in the end and still chose to walk down the path of cultivation. If you want to walk down the road of cultivation, you must not miss the Floating Crest trial in a few months. Old Man Guan's words suddenly came to a turn. Floating Crest trial? Zhao Feng immediately connected it with the most mysterious building of the Broken Moon clan, Floating Crest Palace. And he looked at the building floating in the air amongst a sea of lightning with his left eye. The Floating Crest trial appears only once every 5 years, and is a turning point in one's life. If you're not able to become an inner disciple or enter the Floating Crest trial, it means the path of cultivation isn't for you. Vice Head Zhang smiled. Zhao Feng couldn't help but think about the two's words. He started to realize that the Floating Crest trial was something of great importance, but only a small number of inner disciples were able to participate. Zhao Feng then got a lot of information from the two vice heads about the Floating Crest trial. Firstly, the Floating Crest trial was a chance to enter the Floating Crest Palace and gain items from there, which would help one greatly. Secondly, the disciples that performed great in the Floating Crest trial would be placed of great importance by the clan. In the Broken Moon clan, almost all the people who had reached the true spirit realm had performed superbly in the Floating Crest trial. For example, Haiyun Master was the one who performed the best in the past 100 years. The meaning of the two vice heads was clear. If Zhao Feng wasn't able to enter the Floating Crest trial, it meant that his luck was limited, so he should rather go learn pills refining and arrays. In the world of clans, many believed in luck. This was why the two had said this. Even Zhao Feng couldn't ignore luck, the unseeable, unfeelable, untouchable thing. If he didn't have the mysterious left eye, he wouldn't have walked this far. If I'm able to successfully attend the Floating Crest trial, I presume that the two won't stop me from walking down the road of cultivation? Zhao Feng smiled faintly. The two vice heads laughed and shook their heads as they heard this. There's still 2 to 3 months before the trial, and it's unknown whether or not you'll even become an inner disciple then. Furthermore, there's a limited number of places. And without reaching the third sky of the Ascended Realm, it'll be hard to even get a spot. Old Man Guan explained. Old Man Zhang then added, if you're able to attend the trial, then we'll have nothing to say. Deal. Zhao Feng came to an agreement with the two. If Zhao Feng was able to attend the trial, then the two vice heads won't stop or persuade him from walking down the path of cultivation. But if Zhao Feng wasn't able to attend, then he would have to consider the suggestion given by the two. With such an agreement, the two vice heads laughed and left Zhao Feng's place confidently. Is the competition that fierce? Zhao Feng sent the two confident old men away with his eyes. Now that the problem had been solved, Zhao Feng focused solely on cultivating. But he wanted to increase his strength before he became an inner disciple. Lightning Wind Palm, Silver Wall Technique, Burning Wind Stance, Illusion Fish Picture, these were what Zhao Feng focused mainly on. 3 days later, Xiao Sun broke through to the Ascended Realm and became an inner disciple. According to the rules, as long as one reached the Ascended Realm before 30 years old, they would automatically become an inner disciple and they were not allowed to fight with the substitute inner disciples. Xiao Sun was helpless as well. With his talent and background, it wasn't hard for him to become an inner disciple straight away. But he wanted to be first amongst the outer disciples. Another few days late, Princess Yun Mengxiang also broke through to the Ascended Realm and became an inner disciple. Both Yun Mengxiang and Xiao Sun had good talent and background amongst the outer disciples. Before Yun Mengxiang left, she came to say goodbye to Zhao Feng. Pill Master Zhao Feng, I'll be waiting for you to become an inner disciple. Yes. Zhao Feng's response made Yun Mengxiang slightly surprised. Xiao Sun and Yun Mengxiang had a higher starting point, talent and background. Seeing that Zhao Feng hadn't reached the Ascended Realm yet, Yun Mengxiang thought that it was because he was restricted by his talent. How would she know that Zhao Feng was aiming to enter the ascended realm with his body, or else he probably would have broke through even earlier than Xiao Sun. In the days that Xiao Sun and Yun Mengxiang broke through, Zhao Feng's lightning wind palm had reached the third level, which was the low level. For the next few days, Zhao Feng had comprehended 70 to 80% of the burning wind stance, and its power was at least double of the partial wind stance. While Zhao Feng was gathering his strength, there were a few rumors. The most talented outer disciples of the new batch have already become inner disciples. Even though Zhao Feng is first, he's limited by his talent. Zhao Feng calmly cultivated and didn't bother with what the others said. When he was free, he would occasionally create a few batches of marrow cleansing pills and broken moon breath returning pills and earn some substandard primal crystal stones. Apart from that, Zhao Feng also left Nan Gongfan and Yang Qingshan a marrow cleansing pill each. Brother Zhao, why aren't you using this marrow cleansing pill to try and break through to the ascended realm? Yang Qingshan and Nan Gongfan were guilty and grateful at the same time. I don't need it anymore. Zhao Feng smiled. He had a few marrow cleansing pills as backup, but now, Zhao Feng returned to his courtyard and he sat crossed-legged. But he didn't focus on cultivating, he still circulated his silver wall technique. Wang. A sizzle of silver was created and sent off an aura that was tens of times stronger than inner strength. The silver air true force has finally been condensed. While Zhao Feng breathed, he sent off an aura similar to a Lord-tier deadly beast, causing the hearts of nearby substitute inner disciples to turn cold. At this moment, every action Zhao Feng made sent off the aura of the holy martial path. Because he had entered the ascended realm with his body, the true force came from his flesh. If it was a normal cultivator, the true force would come from their dantian and the force would condense repetitively. The moment Zhao Feng reached the ascended realm with his body, he felt the rate of thumping in his eye increase. Pong! 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 The 9'9" spinning azure light in his left eye stopped moving. Wang. The glow of light suddenly molded together and began to mutate. This was the first time that such a situation had appeared in the dimension of Zhao Feng's left eye. The 9'9" glow of light didn't expand any further. Instead, it merged together and condensed. Sii. Zhao Feng groaned in pain and he clutched his left eye as he fell down to the ground with a plop. The pain from his left eye went straight to his soul. In just a moment's time, Zhao Feng was covered in cold sweat. Only till half an hour later did the pain start to fade away. Zhao Feng merged his consciousness into the dimension in his left eye and he found a patch of pure azure light. The azure wasn't as faint anymore, and it was eye-catching. The azure bundle of light kept on twisting and it seemed to be nurturing something. Zhao Feng opened his hand and found that there was blood. Taking out the mirror, he saw that the depths of his left eye had turned green. Don't be too weird, Zhao Feng prayed. The change in his left eye couldn't be controlled by him. All he could do was circulate his silver air true force. True force was a power that far exceeded inner strength. The smallest wisp of true force could instantly destroy the inner strength of any cultivator at the consolidated realm. While Zhao Feng was slowly circulating his true force, he was also paying attention to the returning breath inner strength in his dantian. The returning breath inner strength had also reached a limit and half of it belonged to inner strength while the other half was true force. Inner strength was more of an aura, whereas true force could be seen. At this moment, the returning breath inner strength in Zhao Feng's dantian started to change to true force. He knew that after one's body reached the ascended realm, the cultivator's attributes would rise and their inner strength would turn into true force. To increase the rate at which it was changing, Zhao Feng merged a bit of his silver air true force into his inner strength. If normal inner strength met a situation like this, it would be destroyed. But the returning breath inner strength merged well with anything and the quantity of true force had already exceeded the quantity of inner strength. Within Zhao Feng's dantian, his returning breath inner strength was being refined to a higher level and it was becoming better in quantity. Spending a full day's time, the inner strength he had decreased by half in quantity, but the inner strength had now turned to true force. This meant that there was two types of true force in Zhao Feng's body. One came from his body-strengthening technique Silver Air True Force, and the other came from his returning breath technique Returning Breath True Force. Zhao Feng had reached the ascended realm in both body and inner strength. With this situation, It meant that he had twice the quantity of true force compared with others who had just entered the Ascended Realm. Looks like I'll need a new force skill now, Zhao Feng thought. It was already lucky that returning breath technique could reach the Ascended Realm as it was only a half-mortal skill, while Silver Wall technique was a mortal body strengthening technique which could be trained to the 11th level. Zhao Feng estimated that he wouldn't be able to reach the 11th level anytime soon. The 9-twist golden wall technique wasn't anywhere in sight either. On the second morning, Zhao Feng took out his mirror and he was shocked by what he saw. His left eyeball had turned fully azure like a demon. That wasn't all, his black hair had turned azure as well. I won't become a monster, right? Zhao Feng felt cold at the thought. He could accept his hair turning azure because in the human world, people had different colored hair as they could be dyed. But what he was worried about was the azure eyeball. Zhao Feng prayed that it would return to its original color, but no matter how hard he tried, it wouldn't go back. Therefore, Zhao Feng took out a black ribbon and put it over his left eye. That's a little better. Zhao Feng saw his reflection in the mirror, and he seemed menacing with one eye, but his patch of azure hair seemed cool. If he didn't take off the black ribbon, his appearance could be accepted. Pong! Pong! Zhao Feng felt the depths of his left eye jump, and the azure ball of light in the dimension seemed to be nurturing something. Instinct told Zhao Feng that his left eye would still go through further changes, and no one knew whether or not he would be killed by the clan for being a monster. No, I can't stay here and wait to die. It's better if I find a calm and quiet place to stay. Zhao Feng made the decision to leave his courtyard. He walked quickly and didn't bother talking to anyone. What a terrifying aura! Has Zhao Feng reached the Ascended Realm? His hair's turned azure and he has an eye patch. Does he have to so menacing? The nearby outer disciples could all feel that aura radiating off him. Truthfully, the moment Zhao Feng broke through to the Ascended Realm, the nearby substitute inner disciples already felt it. To reach the Ascended Realm with his body, he managed to do it. Ho Yuan also came over and his heart trembled when he saw Zhao Feng. Zhao Feng right now could probably even fend off cultivators at the first sky of the Ascended Realm with just his body. Tang! Tang! Zhao Feng's figure leapt into the air and disappeared into a canyon where no one lived. After a while, he found a cave, and to stop anyone from following him, he took off the ribbon and surveyed the area with his left eye to see if there was anyone around. Zhao Feng let out a breath and he lay on the ground while waiting for his left eye to change. Half an hour later. Pong! 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 The thumping from his left eye became faster and faster. The ball of azure light in the dimension of his left eye suddenly became a whirlpool and it started to spin from inside out. Ah! Blood leaked out of Zhao Feng's left eye as he screamed with pain and twisted on the ground. It was lucky that no one was around, or else the whole clan would have probably heard him. Zhao Feng felt his left eye was like a limitless hole sucking his blood. If this process lasted 30 breaths, he would die, but luckily, the process only lasted 10 breaths. Finally, the change in his left eye stabilized, and in the pitch-black dimension, an azure light appeared and it began to spin slowly. The closer one reached the middle, the stronger feeling of an ancient feeling appeared. Next, a line of almost unseeable faint green liquid leaked out of his left eye and it merged with Zhao Feng's body, organs and limbs. Could it be blood? Zhao Feng felt his blood begin to boil like he was inheriting something. It was an indescribable feeling, but Zhao Feng was certain that the change he had gained from this was even greater than reaching the Ascended Realm. After lasting a few breaths, the left eye suddenly stopped giving anything. Zhao Feng let out a breath and the thumping and jumping in his left eye began to slow down. Has it ended? Zhao Feng murmured, but instinct told him it wasn't this simple. He instinctively tried to open his left eye, but he found that his eyelid became heavy and spending all his energy, the left eyelid would only rise a little bit. It was a queer feeling like the eye didn't belong to him. How is this possible? Zhao Feng started to get irritated. He didn't want to become one-eyed and lose his mysterious left eye. Open. Open. Zhao Feng spent all his energy and all the eyelid did was flutter a little. At last, he fully circulated Silver Wall technique and used all the energy he had in his body. Wang! A faint line of green blood appeared in his red blood, and Zhao Feng felt his attributes rise. His silver air true force and returning breath true force had both increased as well. He exuded a dominating aura like he had exceeded the limit of humanity. At this moment, Zhao Feng was suspicious as to whether he was human or not. "Open! I order you to open!" Zhao Feng exclaimed, and under the rise in power from his faint green blood, the eye opened for one breath. When the azure eye fully opened, Zhao Feng felt the heavens shake. What happened? Zhao Feng didn't know whether it was him shaking or it was the heavens shaking, but he still continued to open his eye. He was scared that if he couldn't fully open it this time, there wouldn't be a chance anymore. Every bit his eye opened, he felt the heavens tremble even more. It seemed like the trembling came from the space itself, but when Zhao Feng saw the disciples of the clan far away, it seemed they hadn't noticed it at all. Could it just be himself? Zhao Feng didn't know that while he was opening his eye, all the cultivators of the Broken Moon clan that were at the true spirit realm or higher felt their hearts tremble. Inside a green building. Wah! A handsome, white-robed man suddenly spat a mouthful of blood and woke from his secluded meditation. What the hell is going on? Hai Yun Master's face was pale white and his heart couldn't help but tremble. It was a feeling from the bottom of his soul and blood. At the same time, every cultivator at the true spirit realm and higher in the Azure continent felt their soul and blood shake. The higher one's cultivation was, the stronger the feeling was, and those in secluded meditation all spat a mouthful of blood. Only till a sudden moment did the trembling fade away, and this moment was when Zhao Feng fully opened his left eye. Huang! Zhao Feng felt his head shake and a transparent light shot out of the depths of his azure eye. The line of transparent light seemed to shoot past the mountains and through the Broken Moon clan and disappear into the white clouds above. Zhao Feng couldn't describe the transparent light. It was like it had the power to see through anything and everything in the world. The line of transparent light was like a light of God that instantly shot through the heavens. However, the members of the Broken Moon clan didn't see or feel the light. Only those at the true spirit realm or higher felt the air tremble, but it was more of an illusion. There was only a limited number of people in the Azure continent that felt the change in the skies. Western continent. An enormous ancient palace. Huang. An ancient 100-yard stone started to ring in the depths of the hall. The stone seemed to be from the ancient era because even anyone at the true spirit realm wouldn't be able to scratch it. But at this moment it was cracking. Not good. The heavenly primal stone is breaking. Why would it break without reason? Could there be misfortune coming? Chaos broke out nearby. Cho! A ray of light swept through the air and landed in front of the heavenly primal stone. Lord! What just happened? Tens of powerful aura flew towards the heavenly primal stone. In front of the stone, a figure in purple slowly extended his hand and merged it with the heavenly primal stone. Wang! The stone trembled and a few weird words appeared on the surface of the stone. The words were extremely complicated and they kept on changing. The purple figure started to struggle as well. A terrifying aura swept out and the nearby tens of cultivators of the true spirit realm looked at their lord in fear. As time passed, more and more people of the clan arrived. But the lord in front of the heavenly primal stone pressured them so hard that they couldn't breathe. What is the meaning of the heavenly primal stone cracking? Even our lord at the origin core realm came. There's cultivators at the origin core realm that still exist in this continent. After a long time, their lord slowly loosened his grip. Only 2 words could be recognized from the heavenly primal stone. The lord said softly. Which 2? The high-level people of the clan asked. Their lord suddenly glanced up at the sky and he saw an eye of heaven coldly looking down. It looked an illusion. God's eye. Their lord managed to speak out as a streak of blood appeared from his lips. A long, long place far away in the galaxy. A fearsome palace. Roar. 9 dragons howled in the palace and the king looked at the sky. In the sky, the clouds kept on turning. What does this mean? The king looked coldly upwards and he ordered his dragons to move the clouds aside. This is the first time that this has happened since the empire was created. An old man full of wrinkles and white hair looked up at the sky. Where? The dominant voice sounded. Maybe nearby. The old man answered uncertainly. At this moment in time, all the cultivators in high realms glanced at the heavens. The dragons were finally able to push the clouds blocking the sky away, and an eye of heaven appeared as it looked coldly at the planet. What does this mean? All the cultivators exclaimed. God's eye. It's a God's eye that's never been seen before. It doesn't seem to be one of the 8 great gods' eye, but it is still frightening. The cultivators discussed and broke into chaos. Only the king and white-haired old man were silent as they stared at the eye of heaven in the sky. After a long time, the white-haired old man waved his staff into the air and 9 snakes charged at the sky, but they faded away as they reached the eye of heaven. Heaven has finally opened his eye. The old man cried as the eye of heaven slowly faded into nothing. In the blurry gray sea, a menacing black cruise boat floated. The black cruise was gigantic, and the beings below it felt like it was night. At this moment, every existence was bowing down to the figure of the ruler. There was no light around the person, like it had all been absorbed. The dark figure stood at the head of the cruise and looked at the limitless sea. Wang. The gray sea suddenly trembled and an eye of heaven appeared in the sky. Apart from the dark figure, the other existences all trembled in fear. The ruler opened his pair of black eyes and glanced coldly at the eye of heaven. After a while, the eye of heaven slowly faded away, like it was just looking at the view. There's an extra God's eye now, summing up to a total of 9. What does this all mean? Maybe the current situation of the 8 great gods' eye shall be broken. The pitch-black eyes of the ruler faded away, and the skies turned dark once again. Zhao Feng didn't know how much he had affected the world when he had opened his eye. The only thing that he could confirm was that the true power of his left eye was starting to awaken. When he had opened his eye, an ancient power shot out of his eye. Zhao Feng was slightly regretful because he could feel how strong that power was, but it didn't seem like he could control it. The ancient is broken, and the ancient gods slain will turn into a trillion dust. Continue my bloodline and rule the world. A voice echoed in his mind. Zhao Feng couldn't help but rub his left eye. After the change, it obviously became stronger, like it was a living being. He tried closing his eye, then opening it again, but no mysterious transparent light appeared. Zhao Feng could still feel the azure blood in his body. He didn't know what effect it had right now, but one thing could be confirmed. It could strengthen him. After making sure that he was fine, Zhao Feng carefully walked out of the cave. He then took out the mirror again. His hair was still azure, but his left eye had gone a transparent azure color, like it was a treasure. No! Zhao Feng was still worried that he could be captured by the clan for being a monster. He then tried several different ways to change its color. 1,000 years later, Zhao Feng would remember this and laugh. A while later, he finally found a way. The azure blood he controlled could merge with his left eye and envelope it. When it did, the azure light in the pitch-black dimension had been separated from his left eye. Zhao Feng took out his mirror and the left eye had turned black, but it was dim and dark. At the same time, his left eye also lost vision. Zhao Feng could use the azure blood to change the color of his left eye, but it spent so much energy to do so. He could only manage a few hours a day. At least there's a way. Zhao Feng let out a breath. He then tested out the power of his left eye. Without a doubt, the power in his left eye increased greatly after he had stepped into the ascended realm. Zhao Feng's vision, reaction speed, and perception all got better. For example, Zhao Feng could see up to 100 miles away, and Zhao Feng found that his left eye could see through things. His eye could see through the rock nearby. It's hard to believe that my eye can see through rock. Zhao Feng felt like he was a monster, but he felt that this wasn't the true change in his eye. Right at this moment, a bird flew through the canyon past Zhao Feng's head. HM? Zhao Feng's pupil contracted as he looked coldly at the bird flying in the air. At that moment, his left eye sent a surge of mental energy which condensed into a straight line that headed towards the bird. Plop! The bird screeched midair due to fear. It lost its balance and fell to the ground. Zhao Feng's left eye didn't kill the bird. It had released an indescribable wave of mental energy. which had made the bird panic and lose control of its body. Killing without a trace. This could decide the final outcome in a life-and-death battle. Zhao Feng thought. He tested out all the new effects until he felt tired. Zhao Feng couldn't fully control the new skills such as the mental energy assassination. Just as the sun was about to set, Zhao Feng hurriedly covered his left eye with a piece of ribbon. Then he headed towards the outer hall division with his azure hair flying in the wind. Tang! 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 His figure leapt in the air, passing tens of yards in one breath. Zhao Feng circulated all his true force and he tried to control the wind current around him. This could make him float midair for a breath before he fell down. After reaching the ascended realm, one could fly a short distance in the air, but this wasn't true flying. A cultivator at the true spirit realm could fly for tens of miles without a problem. After returning to the outer hall division, Zhao Feng immediately went to Deacon Qiu to apply to become an inner disciple. According to the rules, one only needed to reach the ascended realm before 30 to become one. I'll report this to the higher-ups, and if there's no problem, you can go to the Central Control Division tomorrow. Deacon Qiu's expression was calm, and he only raised his eyebrows when he saw Zhao Feng's eye patch and azure hair, but he didn't say anything. Zhao Feng let out a breath as he exited the outer hall division. It looked like his eye patch and azure hair didn't catch the attention of the clan. After all, weird things of every kind happened every day. Zhao Feng soon arrived at the clan mission division because of something else. He knew a few array masters as well as blacksmiths. Obviously, Zhao Feng wasn't here to get a weapon because he wasn't rich enough to get blacksmiths to make him one. "Brother Zhao, you need me?" This blacksmith apprentice recognized Zhao Feng, since the latter had followed old man Zhang around and had the name of Prodigy. Zhao Feng didn't know that he was famous throughout the Outer Hall Division, Grasswood Division, and Clan Mission Division. He was the top outer disciple, and he was only 14 to 15 years old. As for the Grasswood Division and Clan Mission Division, he had the name of Prodigy, and the two vice heads fought over him. "I need an eye patch." Zhao Feng pointed at his left eye. "Eye patch." The apprentice paused. He thought that Zhao Feng would want a weapon, but an eye patch wasn't hard to make. Zhao Feng slowly took down the ribbon over his left eye and circulated the azure blood to block off the light from the dimension. When the apprentice saw Zhao Feng's left eye, he was shocked. It was a dim eye, like there was no life in it. He finally understood why Zhao Feng would want an eye patch, and he couldn't help but sympathize for him. "Brother Zhao, don't worry, I'll do my best and make the most suitable eye patch." The apprentice took his measurements and started straight away. He then told Zhao Feng to come tomorrow, and the latter gave him 2 substandard primal crystal stones. On the same night, Zhao Feng closed his eyes and inspected the azure blood and the powers of his left eye. Inside the dimension of his left eye, the azure whirlpool spun from inside out, and when Zhao Feng tried to touch it with his consciousness, he felt an ancient aura. Under a lot of testing, the power of his left eye was as follows. Enhanced vision, and it could magnify expand everything in his vision, and had a certain amount of see-through. Fast reaction speed and analysis. Photocopy, memorizing everything he saw. Mental energy assassination. Of course, these were the abilities that Zhao Feng knew of so far. Apart from that, there was also passive abilities such as extreme calmness. After reaching the ascended realm, Zhao Feng's left eye became stronger, and it had 2 new powers, see-through and mental energy assassination. He hadn't completely figured out the mental energy assassination though, but he had read about it. For example, the hooded figure in the Sky Cloud Forest used mental energy to control Lord Tyr deadly beasts and led an army of beasts. This was in the domain of mental energy and not martial arts. Instinct told Zhao Feng that there was much more to mental energy than what he knew so far, and it seemed that this was the true power of his left eye. Confirming the abilities in his left eye, Zhao Feng started to circulate the 2 true forces in his body. One came from the Silver Wall technique, and it was known as the Silver Air True Force. This true force was unique since it was born from the body, and it slowly merged into his dantian. But the problem was there was already a returning breath true force there. Zhao Feng's situation was extremely special. There might not have been anyone with a similar situation in the past 100 years. Firstly, There was not many people who had trained their body-strengthening techniques to the ascended realm. Body-strengthening techniques were slow to progress and they needed talent, resources, and effort. Furthermore, the Broken Moon clan wasn't a clan that focused on body strengthening much. Secondly, not many broke through to the ascended realm with both their skills and body strengthening techniques. It was because of this that there was 2 true forces in Zhao Feng's body, which meant that he had twice the quantity of true force compared with other cultivators at the first sky of the ascended realm. A normal person would probably give up 1 true force, but Zhao Feng's returning breath true force could merge with almost anything. The returning breath true force shouldn't have been able to reach the ascended realm, but Zhao Feng once again made a miracle. His returning breath technique had exceeded the max level, and when any skill exceeds the max level, it was a different skill. This way, I don't have to give one up. I can merge the 2 together and make them stronger. A light flashed in Zhao Feng's eyes. His left eye started to calculate with all the data that he had. Soon, Zhao Feng came up with a conclusion. Once the 2 merge and strengthen, I can reach the peak of the first sky in a short amount of time and the second sky won't be far away. The 7 skies of the ascended realm. Just like its name, every breakthrough was like the difference in the heavens and earth. The difference of every sky was far greater than the difference in the 9 ranks of the martial path. Therefore, the skies were hard to break through and many cultivators stayed at the first and second sky of the ascended realm without making another breakthrough in their lives. Why did Lord Guanjuan place so much importance in talent? It was because he had experienced the difference in every sky of the ascended realm. If one's talent wasn't strong enough, even if they did reach the ascended realm, they wouldn't be able to break through anymore and reach the true spirit realm. After entering the clan, Zhao Feng understood what Lord Guanjuan originally thought and why he had placed so much hope and expectation on Bei Moi. Compared with the others, Zhao Feng was only a half-spiritual body, and he was already extremely lucky to be able to become one of Lord Guanjuan's disciples. Life. Luck. Zhao Feng started to believe in luck. If it wasn't through Lord Guanjuan, he might not even know about the clans. He would then face greater challenges, and without any accidents, Zhao Feng should be able to become an inner disciple tomorrow. Inner disciples, that was where the true geniuses fought. Bei Moi, Quan Chen, Sun Yuanhao, Lu Yuer, Ran Xiaoyuan, as well as other geniuses, were all inner disciples. Xiao Sun and Yun Mengxiang had both become inner disciples a few days ago as well, and Zhao Feng becoming one could be almost certain. But he still wanted to enter something else, the Floating Crest Trial. He didn't know much about the Floating Crest Trial, but he knew that that was a place where one's life could be changed, and he had the deal with Old Man Zhang and Old Man Guan. The Floating Crest Trial was once every 5 years, and if Zhao Feng didn't participate, it would mean that his luck in the path of cultivation wasn't strong enough and he should rather work on pills and arrays instead. At night, Zhao Feng was still cultivating. It was a slow process for the 2 true forces to merge, and Zhao Feng estimated that he needed 1 month to merge the 2 together, which would make him reach the peak first sky of the ascended realm. Normal inner disciples need 1 to 2 years to reach it, but if there was help from pill masters, the time could be condensed greatly. While the 2 forces were merging, Zhao Feng started to organize his skills. Silver Wall Technique, 10th level, reaching the ascended realm with his body. With just his body alone, he could fight cultivators at the first sky. Lightning Wind Palm, 3rd level, the same as low level. According to what Zhao Feng knew, there was only a low number of people who had trained middle-class mortal skills to the low level. For wind stances, the first 3 had been fully comprehended and the last had been understood 70 to 80%. But even then, the damage from the 4th stance exceeded the first 3. The power of it alone even surpassed Starfinger merging with Tornado stance. Illusion Fish Picture, comprehended up to the 5th change. Even though the Illusion Fish Picture didn't have any offensive power, it helped movement skills and arrays greatly. For example, when Zhao Feng merged the enlightenment gained from the Illusion Fish Picture, his attacks and movement had illusions which tricked the opponent. The Illusion Fish Picture focused on the word illusion, and Zhao Feng had just started to comprehend it. Up to now, Zhao Feng was only comprehending these moves, and the other skills had all reached the peak level. But they were too weak to be used. This meant that Zhao Feng actually only had 2 skills that he cultivated: Silver Wall Technique and Lightning Wind Palm. The Silver Wall Technique had reached the 10th level out of the 11 levels, and it wouldn't be of much use when he reached the 2nd sky. This was the limit of normal low-class mortal skills. It was lightning wind palm that could be trained up to the sixth sky of the Ascended Realm. Zhao Feng got up early the second morning and went to the clan mission division. "Brother Zhao, your eye patch is done." The apprentice handed over a metal eye patch the size of a palm. The eye patch was delicate and the surface was silver. It felt cold and smooth when touched. "This eye patch is special. It can block attacks from cultivators of the first sky of the Ascended Realm," the apprentice explained as Zhao Feng put on the eye patch. A cold feeling appeared and Zhao Feng's left eye was fully covered. "Good." Zhao Feng nodded his head in satisfaction. Amidst the wind, his azure hair wavered, and with his silver eye patch, he seemed 30% wicked and 70% casual. The apprentice next to him couldn't help but pause. He felt that Zhao Feng had an indescribable change in aura. The moment his left eye was covered, its powers were stalled, but he still had the confidence to win. His body had been changed by the mysterious left eye, and under normal circumstances, his reaction speed was still much faster than others. When he fought before, he never used his left eye in normal circumstances. Only if the situation was dire would he use it. "If I block the power of my left eye, my overall strength will drop by half," Zhao Feng estimated. It might sound exaggerated that his strength dropped by half, but it wasn't after the eye had been upgraded. Every time his consciousness entered the dimension in his left eye, he could feel the ancient aura. The left eye had become Zhao Feng's killing move that wouldn't be used easily. Once the eye was activated, it might catch the attention of the clan and Zhao Feng's secret would be exposed. After leaving the clan mission division, Zhao Feng returned to the outer hall division to await the news. If there weren't any accidents, he would become an inner disciple today. Many disciples had received the news of Zhao Feng reaching the Ascended Realm. Zhao Feng's talent is average, but he still managed to reach the Ascended Realm so quickly. They were all stunned. Even though Zhao Feng was the top outer disciple, they weren't willing to be under him because his talent was low amongst the clan disciples. You don't know the truth. Zhao Feng's being cared for by two vice heads, and one of them is of the Grasswood division. No wonder. If it was me, I could also have reached the Ascended Realm. The outer disciples discussed Zhao Feng because the latter's talent was just too average and his age was young. Zhao Feng didn't bother explaining it to these outer disciples. What he needed to do was wait, and that afternoon Deacon Qiu finally gave Zhao Feng the news. "Zhao Feng, congratulations. You've become an inner disciple, and you can go to the Central Hall Division to await the last test," Deacon Qiu said, full of smiles. Ever since the clan entrance examinations had ended, Deacon Qiu had started to pay attention to Zhao Feng because of the two vice heads. After that, Zhao Feng performed exceptionally well in the Grasswood Division, Clan Mission Division, and Outer Hall Division, which caused Deacon Qiu to remember him. With Zhao Feng's talent and age, this was unbelievable. "Thank you, Deacon." Zhao Feng was filled with joy as he immediately thanked the Deacon. After leaving the Outer Hall Division, Zhao Feng said goodbye to Nan Gongfan and Yang Qingshan. There was also many disciples who sent Zhao Feng away. "That bastard is finally going." Ho Yuan, Jiang Yuyan, and the other substitute inner disciples let out a long breath. Only if Zhao Feng became an inner disciple did they have the chance to fight for first place, and he had done so faster than expected. But their sights were kind of dim. Zhao Feng had become the top outer disciple in just 1 month's time, and he had now become an inner disciple. Nan Gongfan and Yang Qingshan felt proud but sour at the same time. Thinking back to when they were at the Guanjuan Palace, the difference between Zhao Feng and them was great. But the latter had caught up one step at a time, and he had surpassed them. Of course, both Nan Gongfan and Yang Qingshan improved significantly. They had both reached the 9th rank of the Consolidated Realm. With the help of the marrow cleansing pill, the two had reached the late stages of the 9th rank, and the Ascended Realm would only be a matter of time, especially so for Yang Qingshan, as he had a middle-tier spiritual body. After leaving the Outer Hall Division, Zhao Feng quickly walked towards the Central Hall Division. The Central Hall Division was at the center of the clan, and the closer he got to it, Zhao Feng could feel the spiritual energy increase. Once he entered the Central Hall Division, the figures here were all at the Ascended Realm. At the same time, an ancient aura got closer and closer to Zhao Feng, which made him left eye twitch. Looking up, A deep azure palace with a sea of lightning around it floated high in the air. It was like it was a fairy tale. Every time Zhao Feng saw the floating crest palace, his heart would shake. And now, Zhao Feng was getting closer and closer to it as the palace was straight above the Central Hall Division. Taking back his gaze, Zhao Feng reported to the Central Hall Division. "Come with me. Every inner disciple must be confirmed by a vice head." A vice deacon was already waiting there for him and led him inside. The high level of the clan would be informed of any new inner disciples, and to confirm the inner disciple, a vice head would be needed. Soon, Zhao Feng entered a dark, dim hall. The second he walked in, Zhao Feng felt an unfeelable pressure lash out at him. "This is Headley," the vice deacon reminded in a low tone. "Greetings, Headley." Zhao Feng bowed respectfully to the bearded middle-aged man sitting at the end of the hall. This Headley was actually a vice head because true heads were all elders that had reached the true spirit realm and wouldn't bother with testing disciples. Vice Headley looked sharply at Zhao Feng below, and the latter instantly felt like 7 heavy mountains were stacked on top of him, and any movement would crush him into powder. The 7 mountains seemed to be Vice Headley's cultivation. Zhao Feng, 14 years old, low-tier spiritual body, and reached the ascended realm from the 8th rank of the consolidated realm in 1 month's time. Apart from that, he was also the top outer disciple. Vice Headley glanced at a little book in his hand, and knowing Zhao Feng's age, talent, and cultivation, he couldn't help but be a little surprised. It wasn't rare for a 14-year-old to reach the ascended realm in the clan, but if the person only had a low-tier spiritual body with no special background, it was abnormal. "Take off your eye patch," Vice Headley said coldly. Zhao Feng circulated his azure blood to block off the dimension of his left eye, then took off the eye patch slowly. After taking off the eye patch, there was a fully dim eye with no sign of light. Vice Headley paused for a second as sympathy washed over him. A 14-year-old had already lost the sight of one eye on the path of cultivation. Vice Headley sighed and waved his hand to signal Zhao Feng to put on the eye patch again. After this, Vice Headley asked a few questions which included his history, cultivation, as well as thoughts. Zhao Feng's response was perfect, and his history was easy to find as well. "I heard a bit about you from Old Man Zhang." Vice Headley nodded his head, signaling that Zhao Feng shouldn't be a spy sent from other clans. Firstly, Zhao Feng was young and his history was clear. Secondly, he was recommended by Lord Guanjuan. Thirdly, 2 vice heads both praised Zhao Feng, and because of this, Vice Head Li's suspicion decreased dramatically. After the questioning, Zhao Feng received a new token, meaning that he was now an inner disciple. "From today onwards, you are an inner disciple." The vice deacon of the Central Hall Division showed where Zhao Feng where he was going to live. Being an inner disciple, his treatment was far better, and there were even servants. Inner disciples got 10 substandard primal crystal stones every month, and they would also get a true spiritual pill every 2 to 3 months. Spiritual pills were all a grade higher than the marrow cleansing pill, and its price was 10 times higher. On the same day, Zhao Feng also got a black striped shirt with a curved moon at the back. It was then that he realized that everything in the clan wasn't simple. The material of this shirt was special. It was warm during winter and cold during summer. Apart from that, it could even withstand blows from the 9th ranks of the consolidated realm. People such as Bei Moi, Ran Xiaoyuan, and Quan Chen all wore clothes like this. Zhao Feng first needed to know the rules of this place, and the vice deacon had told him the most important ones. Inner disciples never surpassed the age of 30. Once they did, they weren't disciples anymore, and they would be sent out to manage respective tasks, and there was a ranking system amongst the inner disciples. There was only around 100 or so inner disciples in the Broken Moon clan, and only the top 10 could be called core disciples. The strength of the core disciples was terrifying. They had all reached the 4th sky of the ascended realm or higher, and they were disciples of elders of the clan master. Apart from that, the top core disciple was also named the head disciple. The head disciple of this generation had reached an astounding cultivation 6th sky of the ascended realm, and was slightly famous amongst the 13 clans. Core disciples, head disciple. A cycle appeared in Zhao Feng's heart. People such as Bei Moi and Quan Chen didn't have as much power and authority core disciple. It was Sister Yuan from that day at the Thousand Leaf Pond, who could be a core disciple since she was at the 4th sky of the ascended realm. Thinking about Sister Yuan, Zhao Feng took a cold hiccup, but he was filled with gratitude as he remembered Ran Xiaoyuan. Walking out of his courtyard, Zhao Feng started to see who his neighbors were, and he found that Xiao Sun, Yun Mengxiang as well as Lin Fan, who was the top outer disciple before him, were all nearby. They were all outer disciples just a while ago, so they were pretty close. Zhao Feng. Xiao Sun's mouth was wide open as if he had seen a ghost. He never would have thought that Zhao Feng would be able to become an inner disciple. While Xiao Sun was an outer disciple, he hated Zhao Feng for taking the spot of top outer disciple. But he had become an inner disciple first, which made him feel better. But he didn't expect Zhao Feng would also become one a few days after him. Brother, Zhao. Yun Mengxiang and Lin Fan walked out one after another, and their expressions were extremely colorful as they saw Zhao Feng like they had seen a ghost. What? That brat became an inner disciple. Quan Chen's mouth hung wide open as his original calm state of mind was instantly broken. This news just came from the Central Hall Division. Zhao Feng had passed the last confirmation test and had become an official inner disciple. Everything happened too fast. Zhao Feng reported that he had reached the Ascended Realm the day after, and on the third, he was already accepted. Knowing this news, Quan Chen didn't have the feeling to cultivate anymore. One had to know Zhao Feng was an ant at the 8th rank of the Consolidated Realm 1 month ago. If Zhao Feng had high talent like Bei Moi and had an elder as their master, this could be possible. But the problem was his talent wasn't high and his age was so young. Even Quan Chen was only at the peak 9th rank of the Consolidated Realm at 14 to 15. No, I must tell Master this news. Quan Chen couldn't sit still, and he immediately headed towards Hai Yun Master's palace. Elder was injured during cultivation, so he's recovering right now, the guard said. Injured? Quan Chen was stunned. According to what he saw, more than one elder was injured yesterday in the clan. Many elders getting injured on the same day sounded weird, but this was the truth. 2 days before Zhao Feng became an inner disciple, many elders in secluded meditation had all spat out blood, but none of them knew what had happened. Seeing that Master was recovering, Quan Chen could only contact the other disciples. Hai Yun Master had 4 core disciples, and of them all, Bei Moi had the highest talent. Quan Chen was the 3rd disciple, and he was at the 3rd sky of the Ascended Realm. There were 2 disciples above Quan Chen, and the first disciple, Wu Li, was the oldest, and he had reached the peak 5th sky of the Ascended Realm. He held Vice Dean position since he was over 30. The second disciple, Yuan Ji, was not even 20 years old, but he had reached the 4th sky of the Ascended Realm. And one of the 10 core disciples of the clan. On the same day, the disciples of Hai Yun Master gathered together. The first disciple, Wu Li, had gone on a mission, and he wasn't at the clan. The second disciple, Yuan Ji. Third disciple, Quan Chen. Fourth disciple, Bei Moi. You're saying that he's become an inner disciple? Bei Moi was extremely surprised. He knew how talented the disciples of Lord Guanjun were, and apart from himself, Yang Qingshan had the highest talent. He first thought that Yang Qingshan would be the first to become an inner disciple, but the latter had no background whatsoever. So it was expected that 1 year was needed before Yang Qingshan became an inner disciple. I'm absolutely sure. That kid's just too weird. Quan Chen was somewhat frustrated as he mentioned Zhao Feng. He had tried to suppress the latter before, but none of them worked. Brother Bei, does this Zhao Feng have anything special about him? The second disciple, Yuan Ji, said, full of smiles. Being a core disciple of the clan, Yuan Ji didn't put someone who had just become an inner disciple in his eyes, but he was just slightly interested. This guy. Mentioning Zhao Feng, Bei Moi's eyebrows scrunched up because even he had lost to Zhao Feng before. For example, in terms of memory and the Beast Horde battle points. Of course, someone as proud as Bei Moi wouldn't mention this. His talent is average, but his memory is extremely well, and he seems to focus on a body-strengthening technique. His battle power is also very powerful. Bei Moi gave a review of Zhao Feng. Hee. Yuan Ji laughed. When this brat was an outer disciple, we couldn't do anything. But now that he's an inner disciple, it's much easier to take care of him. That's right. Quan Chen's eyes lit up. Outer disciples and inner disciples were like two circles that didn't mix, and Xiaofeng had now entered their circle. Why bother telling Master about something so small? We can play with him alone. A cold smile appeared on Yuanji's face. Could you already have a plan? Quan Chen couldn't help but be overjoyed. Yuanji was a calculating core disciple, who destroyed those who offended him. Central Hall Division. Zhao Feng, Xiao Sun, Yun Mengxiang and Lin Fan were all in the same room. Up to now, the three's shock hadn't recovered. Zhao Feng's performance had stunned them. With 14 years of age, he had become the top outer disciple, and he had become an inner disciple in just 1 month. Even Lin Fan, the top outer disciple before Zhao Feng, couldn't believe it. At first, he had smiled and said, "I believe we will be meeting again in a few years' time." A few years' time? At that moment, Lin Fan thought that with Zhao Feng's low-tier spiritual body, the latter needed at least 2 to 3 years. But now, Xiao Sun and Yun Mengxiang both felt defeated after they accepted this reality. Since everyone's become an inner disciple, we can all take care of each other. Lin Fan laughed, and the atmosphere in the room returned to normal. Because Zhao Feng had become an inner disciple later than them, he had some things to ask them, and Lin Fan and company answered his questions. We've just become inner disciples and we have low cultivation, so we must be careful in everything we do. We also can't offend other inner disciples, especially core disciples. Lin Fan sighed. When he mentioned core disciples, everyone sighed. Core disciples were at least at the 4th sky of the ascended realm or higher, and they had strong backgrounds. The clan's been quite peaceful and quiet right now. Most disciples are preparing for the Floating Crest trial 3 months from now. Yun Mengxiang sighed with regret and unwillingness. The Floating Crest trial happened only once every 5 years, and many inner disciples fought to enter. But the three didn't hold much hope. It's just too hard to participate. Xiao Sun shook his head as well. According to past experience, one needed to be at least at the 3rd sky of the ascended realm to fight for the chance to enter. But luckily those disciples who had entered 5 years ago weren't allowed to enter this time. The rules of the Floating Crest trial stated that those who entered must not be older than 25 and could only enter once. So the stronger inner disciples couldn't enter, but even then the competition was fierce. Xiao Sun and company had just become inner disciples, and they weren't confident. Maybe only geniuses such as Bei Moi and Sun Yuanhao, who had elders supporting them, could have the chance to enter. Speaking at last, Lin Fan warned Zhao Feng, "Remember that you still have one chance to enter the hollow building after you became an inner disciple." The two were both the top outer disciple at one time, and they knew the advantage they had gained. Hollow building? Zhao Feng's eyes twinkled as he remembered the structure of the arrays in the hollow building. The jade slips all floated in the mist which was enveloped by an array. If one could disable the arrays, they could get a few more skills from the hollow building. This was just too enticing. One had to know that the skills in the hollow building were all the best skills and included high and peak class mortal skills. Of course, Zhao Feng didn't have any confidence in disabling the array because the array in the hollow building was too complicated, and even if Zhao Feng could do it, the elder guarding the building might sense it. But the more complicated an array was, the more holes and flaws appeared. Zhao Feng didn't need to break the array. If he just found a hole in the array, there was still a high chance. That night, Zhao Feng started to break the structure of the array in the dimension of his left eye. That array was extremely complicated, and even though Zhao Feng's left eye had upgraded, he still felt a lot of resistance, although progress was still made. If Old Man Zhang of the Clan Mission Division was here, he would probably be speechless. One had to know that the arrays of the hollow building were ancient, and the best array masters in the clan could understand 20 to 30% of it. A newbie like Zhao Feng could analyze and disassemble the array just by looking at it once was just unbelievable. There's 2 true forces in my body, which needs to be merged together. Only when I'm at the late stages of the 1st sky will I need to enter the hollow building to get another force skill. Zhao Feng planned, and for the next few days, he kept on merging his true force and tried to comprehend the array of the hollow building. Since he had just become an inner disciple, he didn't know how Quan Chen, Hai Yun Master and company would treat him, so it was better to first be quiet. But he couldn't stay holed up here forever. The 7th day. Dong. The sound of a bell ringing resounded across the Central Hall Division. Inner Disciple Gathering. The inner disciples all got out of bed or opened their eyes from cultivation. The inner disciples gathering was held by the head of Central Hall Division, and it happened once a month. This is one of the biggest gatherings. Xiao Sun was extremely excited. Yun Mengxiang and Lin Fan also walked out of their respective courtyards, and the four of them walked towards the Central Hall Division together. Disciples slowly started to gather around the Central Hall Division, and their cultivation were mostly at the second sky or higher. Zhao Feng and the other new inner disciples were eye-catching, and the older inner disciples looked at them with disdain. Humph! One long-nosed Outh scanned Zhao Feng and company. Looks like this time I can't hide, Lin Fan said helplessly. Zhao Feng couldn't help but look at the long-nosed youth. Yun Mengxiang told him in a low tone that the long-nosed youth was called Su Ren, who was at the second sky. He had a younger brother who was an outer disciple, but he had been beaten by Lin Fan because he had been too cocky and arrogant. Therefore, the second that Lin Fan became an inner disciple, Su Ren came to his place and tried to avenge his brother. But Lin Fan used his brain and hid. But today was the inner disciples gathering, so even if he tried to hide, he couldn't.